It wouldn't mean a lot if we killed off a character at this point because you didn't know a lot about them.
Jeff really always did just spit facts.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, we're back with another episode of BBB. It's been a little while. People being sick, people being busy, it happens. But we have a good amount to talk about today. The last time we had an episode was with Battle of Olympus. So, oh wow, that was a long time ago. Yeah, that was like a month ago.
That was a while ago.
That was a month ago, yeah. So, we have more or less the standard crew. We have Jazz here.
Hello.
And Ian.
So,
and Ness.
hello.
We can tell who's sick.
Yeah, so Jazz and Ian are both sick.
I was sick.
Ness was
recovering sick.
Yeah.
Current sick.
I'm getting better.
So
I'm not. I'm getting actively worse.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh no.
This is my retirement episode.
Oh no.
I'm being taken to the farm, everyone.
Going to the bog.
Yeah. She's gonna be thrown in the bog.
As a sacrifice.
Oh god.
Join the ancestors.
Enjoy the ancestors.
Oh god.
Oh god. So yeah, we have a bunch of topics today. We have, I guess we'll just start with a quick little catch up here. Well, let's see. Season 3 has started. Yippee.
Yeah.
News. I don't know. Is any specific news we want to bring up before we just talk about something? I don't know. What do you guys?
Well,
we have
there was a thing today,
There was.
or earlier today, somewhere today, or yesterday. I forgot.
What is? What are you talking about?
I can't keep up with time anymore.
What are you talking about?
It's okay.
There was
by the time
a
this
blog
episode
post by Aaron Keller about the balanced state of the game.
Oh, do I even want to know?
So basically, from what I could tell, they were like, "Yeah, the game's actually in a fine spot, actually."
Oh. Oh no.
And then they were like, "Yeah, there's like the highest win rate character has like a win rate of 55, and the lowest of 46."
I mean, that's fair, but like, that's not
Across all ranks. This is, by the way.
That's not the same as balanced, right? That's like, I guess that's a thing we're gonna be talking about later, anyways. So, there's a difference between, like, I guess it is balanced, but there's good balance and there's bad balance, or should I say there's a good way of doing bad balance and there's a bad way of doing good balance. Is I guess what I'll say for now.
I'm gonna put forward the very controversial question. Today I'm not gonna do anything. I'm only here to stir shit. I'm not here to contribute. But do you guys think we were maybe a bit harsh on Jeff after seeing, all this since he's left?
Yeah.
Or
Mr. Goodman?
I've been saying that for years before he even left. I've always thought the Jeff hate was misappropriated
But who
hatred.
hated
I
Jeff?
think it's Jeff Goodman, I assume. Is who
Oh,
we're talking about.
Goodman.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Jeff Kaplan.
No,
Who the
not
fuck
Kaplan.
hated Jeff Kaplan?
Nobody hates Jeff Kaplan.
No one hates
Monsters
Jeff
hate
Kaplan.
Jeff Kaplan.
Not even people outside of the Overwatch community hate Jeff.
No. Yeah, Goodman. I've always said that people's hatred for Goodman was misplaced, because I've never blamed him directly for a lot of these issues. I've always figured they were more just unanimous in terms of like, oh, it's like the whole team making things the way they are. It's not just him. And oh, look, he's been gone for 6 months and everything's still garbage. Ooh.
You know?
Remember when Michael Chu also left? And people, shitty people on the internet were like, oh, great, he's gone. Maybe we'll finally get some lore. And then we never got lore. ever.
Yeah,
again.
always
Even
was
less.
copious amounts of retcons and more inconsistencies than we've ever seen in our lives.
I know. Like people got on his back for like something that was never confirmed regarding Diva, because I remember it was something. It was one of those things that's like you hear something and it just kind of morphs and it comes like a bit of like fandom lore, but then everyone treats it as true, which is that
Oh my
Diva
God.
was a StarCraft champion, which is so minuscule and such a nothing thing. And then when he confirmed, oh yeah, no, that wasn't the implication. She just plays StarCraft, and everyone got on his dick about it. And oh man, just some people get some weird vibes.
Yeah, we
And,
could
like,
have a whole conversation about that type of like community behavior.
That is true.
Oh yeah.
I definitely remember when Overwatch started and being in the thicket of like the fandom at the time. It's like, oh man, some takes that I saw. Do you know that one cyborg? I really am like, this is my final episode because it's like, do you know that cyborg guy in oh, what's it called? It's on the tip of my tongue. It has Harrison Ford in it. Blade Runner.
Oh yeah.
with the very famous like cyborg guy like in the rain.
Oh yeah.
the shit I've seen.
You people wouldn't believe. I wish I could recite that whole monologue, but I don't know it perfectly, so I'd butcher it if I tried.
You get what I mean, though. The vibe.
Yeah, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh no, not Blade Runner. Blade Runner. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
I think you said Blade
what
Runner.
you said.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
She's on
It's
the
alright.
she's on a different kind of juice.
Yeah. Listen,
Uh.
I had to take a lot of drugs just to get on here. Just to be somewhat hyped.
Be
Well,
functional.
okay, so let's see. Other than that, I don't know, news, updates. What other stuff do we have?
Valentine's event.
Yes.
Yes, we do
We
have
have
Dating
Valentine's
sim is real.
They made an official Overwatch dating sim,
It's so
and it's
It was
it's,
an
it's
update.
fine. It's okay.
It's what I expected, basically.
Yeah.
Not much, but it's a nice little treat.
Yeah, it's just a little game someone threw together, pretty much.
A little thing to satiate people's fantasies until they rediscover Tumblr.
God.
There's just a shock. Something about the. There's just a shocking amount of. Wow, I keep losing track. Hold on.
Holy shit! What is? You people are a catastrophe today.
In like 5 minutes, we've already had a giant
Astro.
tangent that constitutes more than us staying on topic. Ness is
We're
already
sick,
spaced out.
Astro, leave us alone.
This is what happens when you go to work sick, and then have the weekend. You know, this is what happens.
It's the weekend? Oh my god, it's Saturday, isn't it?
Yes.
I've completely lost track of like everything outside my room over the past week, so
Yeah, well, I've pretty much lost track of anything outside of work.
Yikes.
Oh,
Jeez.
boys. This
Okay.
episode is already started out
Just a
great.
disaster.
Okay.
What are you talking about? It's going great.
It's going wonderful.
Keep it positive.
All,
Yeah,
all is
We'll
well.
fix it in post, as they say.
Fix it in post.
You'll edit this, right, Astro? Yeah.
Edit this out? No.
edit this in to another podcast.
Yeah. This is gonna be the. There's like 3 different extras in this one episode
Oh god.
because we keep on derailing.
Alright, does that do it for the news catch up then?
No, not quite.
Not
I
quite?
think.
New map.
Oh, yeah.
that happened.
Yeah, the Antarctic Peninsula.
I love it.
I, feel
I
like-
lose
Jesus.
90% of the time I play on it, but I love it.
Yeah.
I was surprised they just let the penguins be accessible in spawn.
I was
Nice.
too.
I was like,
It's
they're
nice
not gonna
'cause you
let
can-
us shoot them, and then they did. You know?
Yeah, but what's so funny about it is that the penguins just kind of like, they like jiggle, and they just don't care. Which honestly I think is the best outcome, because it's so funny.
They are that solid.
They're just indestructible penguins. I feel like that's a lot funnier than just like penguins that you can see but can't interact with.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, if Overwatch is a kind of like 12 plus game, right?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they put in like that you could kill a fucking penguin?
Yeah, no,
Just
exactly.
randomly-
Like you'd
And the-
shoot on it and it would explode like one of those CS:GO chickens.
You pick it up like in Zelda. You pick it up and you throw it,
Just throw
and then
that
suddenly
shit.
15 penguins just come attack you.
Just make an environmental kill for throwing penguins at people.
That's how
Speaking-
Pharaoh will win.
Speaking of the penguins, did anyone else get like a weird sort of vibe where like Overwatch is like a cartoony sort of art style to it, right?
Somewhat, yes.
Mhm.
And then there's
And then the
real ass
penguins are just the penguins are just realistic, and it's like, are these really in the same universe as like these goofy, big-eyed, like humanoid characters running around? Like, it felt a bit jarring to me, and I haven't really seen anyone else mention that. And I don't know if it was just me.
I get what you mean, you know. You put Winston Overwatch in the game, you know. Winston Overwatch, he's fine, you know. He definitely exists in real life. Sojourn, though, that's a bit outlandish next to a penguin.
Well, yeah, it's like you get all these like, even the other animal characters like Hammond and Winston, like they're like goofy caricatures of animals, basically.
Right.
And you're like, okay, you accept it because that's the art style in the world of Overwatch. And then you get like these photorealistic penguins, and it's like, that just seems sort of weird.
Honestly, though,
I
it
don't
makes
know.
it so much
I
better.
felt off.
I suppose it's kind of like with character design, especially with animals. You have to think of how to kind of make them
Anthropomorphic.
Thank you. I'm struggling today, so thank you. Versus these random penguins that you're probably not going to pay too much attention to.
Right.
You're probably not going to put that much effort into it, so it's like, penguin be upon ye.
A penguin upon ye.
So versus like with Winston and Hammond, you have to consider marketability, you have to consider appeal, you have to consider character design philosophy, etc., etc.
Right.
So that's probably
Well, the penguins themselves have become a marketing point for Overwatch. You've seen how much they've been pushing them on social media?
I know.
You see how much they're pushing
Yeah,
toes on social media?
Excuse me?
because who hates penguins?
Could we have a tangent on how much they've just been posting?
They have yet to post Cyber Demon Genji's Cyber Toes, which has surprised me.
What the fuck is I haven't been on Twitter in a while. What the fuck is happening?
Oh yeah, they showed
Okay,
off
so
everyone's
the
skin.
official Overwatch
What?
Twitter, whenever a new skin comes out with like exposed toes, they'll just like be like eyes emoji and then just post the toes.
Yeah, ever since the start of season 3, the Overwatch social media has been on a rampage. Like
No, Overwatch
every
Season
day,
2
you're
as
either
well.
getting new toe pics or you're getting some bizarro meme regarding the Antarctic penguins. It's like,
Or you'll see like modified gameplay. Where
Oh, yeah, like
they went into the engine to make it so that mag grenade only sticks to Mei.
yep, that was pretty great.
It's like
It seeks out Mei across the map and kills only her.
it's like are they that desperate for like
Interaction?
interaction or anyone's interest?
I mean,
I don't know
know,
if
man.
it's desperation or if it's just them being like, hey, 5 years ago, all these fast food companies realized they could be hooligans on Twitter and get a bunch of media attention. Let's do it with our Overwatch game.
let's be
Like, I don't
really
know if it's
original.
desperation or if it's just they just suddenly decided to do it.
I mean, they for sure have a new like social media marketing person.
Oh, certainly. Or at least have been hounding them to be more engaging.
Perhaps that's true. Yeah, that's been happening on social media. It's been unbelievably just shocking. It's like, yes, the new skin comes out. I don't care. And then on Twitter, I'll see like Play Overwatch has posted. I'll be like, oh, so there's probably like either some new information or some balance patches. Or Aaron Keller decided not to post on his main account and instead on Play Overwatch. No. It's just toe pics of Hanzo.
I suppose this naturally leads into one of our topics, main topics, and then a side topic, which is about like the recent Doomfist and One Punch Man crossover that came out, and the overall like I don't know if it's just me. Do you guys feel as though Overwatch 2 has clearly become a lot more memey if that makes sense. Like, as in,
Yes.
Here's
like way
trying
more
to-
interested in
Okay.
humor and like internet stuff and stuff like that. And it's really playing into like, the humor of Overwatch itself and like the fandom around it.
so I
And
have
I'm wondering if this
sorry, go
is
ahead.
seen as like a good or bad thing in your eyes.
So
I'm just curious.
I have a weird take regarding this. All right, and that is that they seem to be memeing up everything except the actual game. If you get what I mean, like
Yeah, I get what you mean.
it's like they're memeing up the skins, but it's not like playing the game is memey. It's like it's becoming less memey, which is weird. So it's like I don't really understand why this is why this development has come about, but I don't.
I know why.
Why?
I know why. Why they're memeing with the skins and all the items and the battle pass.
Why? Because the game is
Because they wanna
becoming less
sell
fun.
They can't sell the game.
Oh yeah.
The game is free.
Yeah, they gotta push it any way they can. So Astro, in terms of saying the game itself isn't memey, do you just mean like the gameplay?
Yeah, I mean, a lot less like memey, goofy shit happens. Like just a way less than it used
You
to.
must not play Lucio.
Oh, okay,
the cheese. I do feel like the cheese has gone down. Since
but that's
Overwatch
sort of
2.
what I mean. Like it's the goofy shit that's just sort of like fallen off.
But like, I will say, the characters themselves are definitely turning more memey. Like the character interactions, they're great in Overwatch 2, but they're definitely shifting things into like a more like, haha, like one-off funny line direction. And I don't know how I feel about that overall. Like
Well,
last night specifically, I was playing and I heard some interaction between Sigma and Moira, and it made me realize how Sigma has devolved to just, haha, he doesn't know where he is. And that's like all he is now, and it's like, oh. He's just
Yeah.
a joke now.
I mean, I guess the way you could look at it is that he's either become way more of a joke or way more terrifying, I guess is the way you could look at it.
Yeah, I unfortunately see it as like he's just he's like a one-note joke now.
Yeah.
Like any sort of like weight to his character has sort of dissolved away, and it's just like, let's see what funny, nonsensical observations he makes about Toronto. It's like, okay.
I mean, and then we had it's an episode of BBB with Ian. We have to do it. Then you have Kiriko, who is nothing but that.
Kiriko was the canary in the coal mine. We should have paid more attention to what they did with her going into Overwatch 2, because yeah, she was sort of like the harbinger of the state of things.
It's.
I left for like exactly 2 minutes to grab some soup, and I come back to she was a canary in the mines.
We're talking about
Wonder.
Kiriko again.
Yeah, like Jazz, I think you're spot on with the whole like meme aspect. And I think even the characters themselves are getting pushed in meme directions. Like maybe you weren't here for it, but I was mentioning how Sigma has become like a one-note joke of like,
Yes.
haha, he doesn't know where he is.
Yes, I
And,
agree.
like-
Because like
Like-
you have to think about like the reason why people were really interested in Sigma was because like this horrifying, like unimaginable thing happened to such a sweet little man, and that's kind of like what was very interesting is that like that dichotomy of like horror, and also he's undeniably very sweet and also very scary and very powerful. But now he's just kind of just something to like for Mora to bully.
Yes.
Nah, he's just mentally ill grandpa.
Yeah, he's just become like a little punching bag, and it's like it's a little sad.
Well, yeah, but then he has Sombra, which is so nice.
Mm,
That is very
that
true.
is true. But I do agree with the whole like I think when the Overwatch 2 new voice lines were coming out, there was definitely a sense of like there's definitely a shift, but now that we see the overall direction Overwatch 2 has been going in through season 1, season 2, and season 3, it is kind of more of a, I want to say, do you know when Marvel, the Marvel Joss Whedon era?
No.
I don't watch Marvel.
Oh well,
I
you can
maybe I don't know what you mean by
like very
Joss Whedon specifically.
so kind of like very quippy, very like girl.
Okay.
Can veer into like girl boss territory.
Oh God.
Yeah, so you're talking about like the what are they called? Eras, gens, wave. That's
Yeah,
what it is. Wave 4
yeah,
shift.
yeah. That's kind
Okay.
of what I mean. That like and listen, trends are trends, and like overall, like Overwatch is meant to be kind of like a lighthearted view of superheroes, but I always view that lightheartedness coming from like the themes of like hope and happiness, not really from like quips, you know?
Right.
But
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point to bring up because now that you mention it, this shift towards the more like Marvel one-liner humor, like atmosphere for the game, has like perfectly coincided with my loss of interest in like the story of Overwatch overall, and I don't think that's a coincidence. Because it definitely
I
feels
completely
like
agree.
Overwatch is turning into like, haha, funny, like Tracer says something quippy and then Winston laughs, and it's like, okay, but is there any weight to what's happening anymore? It doesn't feel like it.
No, I completely agree, and that's the reason why I mentioned that I was just a bit terrified with the direction of like, from what we've seen of the comics and stuff like that so far, where a lot of them are like dealing with very kind of edgy storylines, but like they're joking, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure how much. I'm. This is kind of not what I signed up for. I signed up for kind of like a overall kind of lighthearted tale about a lovely future that we could have if we all work together, and like that's very sweet and unique at the time, especially, and even now I still think that it's very unique, but it could just be a case of like they don't see a future in that, they don't see a future in the storytelling in such a premise, and thus they have decided to look at the trends and say, well, this works.
Because Overwatch used to be like this post utopia, pretty much.
Post utopia is the best way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's just going back to a war scenario, which I mean, in the lore that works, right? But they don't really have those same like hope in it as it used to have, because that was the
Like
main theme of Overwatch and its heroes. I feel.
if we were to describe its genre in terms of like just plain storytelling, it was a dystopian society slowly turning into a solar punk society,
Excuse
if you
me.
want to. Yeah. Have you not heard of that?
I've never heard that.
I have never heard of solar punk.
I've never even heard of solar punk. So
Solar punk is essentially the antithesis to cyberpunk. If we lose ourselves in technology, we will find ourselves in nature and society and et cetera, et cetera.
okay.
I'll throw up some definitions up
Okay.
for the folks at home. But yeah, I like at the one hand though, the Hanzo skin is really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's hard to be like, it's hard to dislike this direction outright because there are so many great things coming about from it. Like the Hanzo skin, like there are some genuinely good lines in game from the different heroes. Like the One Punch Man collaboration is just like fun. But like amidst it all, I feel like Overwatch is kind of losing its identity. And it's like, it's not so bad that I'm like, oh no, we need to stop it, no more collabs. But it's like, I'm looking at it, and then I look at like what Fortnite was back in 2018, and I'm like, we've seen what happened to a game when they took this path before.
Right.
Like,
I think you hit the nail on its head. It's trying to Fortnite.
it is, and I'm terrified of it going full Fortnite.
Never go full
Fortnite,
Fortnite, folks.
Fortnite is a game that its only identity is the fact that it has no identity. It's an amalgam of other IPs at this point. And the idea that Overwatch could potentially become that one day is terrifying to me. And I don't think it ever will, but the fact that they're sort of inching in that direction on the tail of Fortnite is like, okay, where are we going to be 4 years from now? Like, what sort of game is this going to be? Just in terms of identity.
I completely agree, because in terms of like when you see Fortnite and you watch Ariana Grande and Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty
Amogus.
doing a kameka, you kind of don't question it because it's Fortnite. But if you
Right,
want
but that's
to...
become Fortnite's identity.
Exactly.
Fortnite didn't start out as that. Fortnite wanted to be this own like build your world zombie defense game.
Yeah, and it had its own sort of like in-universe like storyline of things with like the the weird portals and stuff back in early days of Fortnite, back in like 2018. And it was interesting. It was an interesting little world they'd built. And then they just started flooding it with third-party IPs to the point that the game lost any original identity it had. And it just became the like Smash Bros mishmash.
I was just gonna say.
Like, all this stuff, and like it works for Smash Bros because there is no story to Smash Bros. It's just let's take all these cool. I mean, there kind of is, but like you take all these cool like characters that you like from other IPs, throw them together to fight, and that's cool and it works. And to be fair, Fortnite I think has successfully done that for its own genre as well. But like the game lacks any individual identity in a way that works for Fortnite. But the idea of Overwatch shifting in that direction is like, no, I like Overwatch's identity. Don't throw it away.
Exactly.
Do you know what's the funny thing about this? Is that Overwatch took this direction when like Apex Legends and Valorant are like right there. You can see that the path you were going down was perfectly fine. I don't understand. But sure,
I guess
whatever.
they want to compete on a different level, because Valorant and Apex are right there. That is kind of their problem.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a different demographic between Overwatch players and like Valorant/Apex players. I feel like there's more overlap between Overwatch and Fortnite than there is with like Apex and Valorant.
I disagree about that.
Overwatch
one,
in terms of community at the very least, if not player base.
I mean, this is at least my observation with Overwatch 2. The Overwatch 2 community is a lot more inclined towards like goofy stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, granted, I think that's what Overwatch 1 was originally, and then that kind of changed over time. And honestly, I think that's going to start changing over time with Overwatch 2 as well, because people are just going to stop playing it, and all that's going to be left are the Overwatch 1 players anyways. But here's
what it is. I think Overwatch 1 had its, optimistic, like, utopia/dystopia future image. And then people just started, like, memeing that. Because, like, the characters were so good, and, like, the world building was so good, that it was a great ground for people to get invested in, and naturally that led to memes forming. About, like, oh, Reinhardt, Genji, like, they're silly. When, like, and realistically, they're, like, not that silly in the universe of the game. Like, they're actually... Genji, at least, is a fairly tragic hero in a lot of ways.
Reinhardt is sad as
very
fuck.
Optimistic outcome of it. And it's like, Genji's just a joke. Like, especially Hanzo. Like, Hanzo's even more tragic than Genji, and he's the biggest joke of all. And, like, that's not because they wrote the character to be that. It's because people took these well-written characters and memed them, which is a very natural thing for a culture to do. And now Overwatch is turning around with Overwatch 2 and embracing that meme where they make Hanzo in-game via his voice lines this sad, pathetic person who's like, look at him, he's so sad. And it's like, that's who he is now. It's not just the community memeing about Hanzo being sad. He is sad now. And like, I don't know how I feel about that direction shift.
So do you guys think it's a shift in direction, or is it just, good old-fashioned, like, Flanderization,
I mean, I think it's Blizzard trying to embrace the sort of, like, portrayal of these characters that the community has built up. And I think it's all, like, a marketing aspect, basically, where it's like, oh, let's reflect what the community sees these characters as being in the game itself in order to better connect with the community. Which, like, I understand. That's a great marketing move in terms of getting people to laugh and talk about the game and clap their hands and point. But, like, in terms of the game's identity and trying to tell an interesting story and making a believable, engaging world, I do think it's detrimental overall.
Yeah. Yeah.
I suppose when you the reason why I brought up flanderization is that's just what fandoms tend to do. And that's
Right.
not inherently evil or nefarious. It's just like that's just what happens when you have like millions of people that have um a take on your character, and they have different takes on that character, and some aspects of that character takes off and some don't. And I suppose that's what I meant by like, do you think this is like overall them leaning into that flanderization of like simplifying the characters even more? And that's the reason why we kind of get a bit more jokey, because even, you know, now we've gotten Genji used to be a very calm but happy character who had a very sad backstory, but overall was quite calm and and if not a little quiet.
Yeah.
Now he's kind of like a little jokester, which I mean, it's not inherently bad, but it's just kind of not what we're used to, and not what he has been first portrayed as. But interestingly, that's how the fandom has always portrayed him as. So that's the reason why I'm kind of like,
I mean, but
interesting.
but at the same time, you have a couple characters that have gone in the exact opposite direction. The biggest of which is Arisa, of course.
She's an entirely different character. Almost,
yeah,
but
she's,
that makes sense.
But she's
in the
not
story.
she's not
But she
mean
was
at all.
never really fully formed.
Yeah, like everyone.
I mean,
everyone used to talk
I
about,
would
oh, Arisa's
argue-
so cute. Arisa's so funny and cute, and like, but they've gone in the opposite direction with Arisa. Arisa's like, she's. I'm not gonna say she's not funny, but she's definitely lost that cuteness aspect.
I will say this. I do think Orisa. Remember ages ago, I had a huge debate with you guys about, you know, the Omnics in Overwatch, right? And how the Omnic characters are portrayed, and how the reason why I was just kind of like disappointed in it is because the Omnics are a huge faction in this world that they have created, and yet
Right.
have very little to no relevance to the story, or even the lore, or anything to do with Overwatch, really.
Right.
And I also mentioned in that big monologue that the Overwatch characters that we got that were Omnics are very similar in terms of archetypes.
True.
So, for example, we had at the time, I think we had, I can't remember if Echo came out, but in fairness, Echo does fall into this anyway. We have Zenyatta, who is calm, cool, and collected, and then we have
But also a
Bastion.
gremlin.
Bastion, who's a very lovable kind of goofball, and then you have Orisa, who's a lovable goofball, and then you have, oh no, Echo, who is a lovable goofball. Oh no, we have the same character 3 times.
Yeah, but now we have
So I
Brahmatra.
suppose- No, but that's what I mean. That like for Orisa, it was a case of like, well, we have a character that isn't too popular, is going through a rework, has a new novel that just came out that can justify a little bit of a tweak in their character, and we have 3 characters that are the exact fucking same. So
Yeah.
maybe we need to change one, and that just came down to Orisa.
I mean,
It also helped that Arisa's identity before this was just baby.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that like there's also like out of the 3 that I've just named, you know, Orisa, Bastion, and Echo, they're still like very young or very naive or inexperienced.
I was gonna say
in terms
Bastion's
of
the oldest
world.
out of them, but yes.
But he's been
But, like,
asleep for 30
yeah.
years, so
He's been napping.
Yeah.
And also
Zen
he's
is
a
not even
psycho
that
murder
old.
robot.
Zen's like 23 or something. Zen's our age.
Zen's 20, yeah.
So I suppose
Younger
that's
than me. Skull emoji.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because it's been something that's been pondering in my noggin for a while. I've been wondering if it's a good or bad thing, because it's like, ooh, it is funny, it's undeniably funny, but also is this good for the game? Is this
Right.
good for the lore? Is this good for the story? I don't know.
yeah. Speaking of Omnics and robots,
Yeah.
Echo is the character who exists in Overwatch too. Like Echo is
You could've
like,
fooled me.
yeah, she's. This could be its own tangent, I guess, but like, what happened with Echo? She was supposed to be this like big important character for the story, and they like absolutely made that push with her when they released her, and just like nobody in the community cares about her at all.
She's the one character that I routinely forget exists.
Yes,
Look, that's also because her character is like, I can become any other character.
But like, is it that? Like, like maybe she just lacks identity. Nobody cares about her. Like nobody cares about Echo as a character.
I kind of want to see if there's an Echo main subreddit. I'm sure there is, but I want to see how big it is.
I'm sure there is. I see. Echo's one of those like rare instances where I see her being discussed more in terms of like game balance and gameplay than as a character in the Overwatch universe.
Honestly, I see that with most characters, though.
Yeah, I guess it depends what like portions of the community you frequent.
But there's really not many people talking about her story.
Okay,
which,
so
to be fair, is not.
yeah,
It's not light or anything. It's a decent story.
okay, so
like-
Echo has the Echo subreddit has like 2,000 people.
Okay, no.
Well, like, what is it about
subreddit
Echo
has
that-
2,000 participants?
And
That doesn't mean they all post.
yeah, exactly. Let's see how
Yeah.
many Sigmas has, which I'm part of. Oh, surprise, surprise. Yeah, Sigma has 5,000, and it's Sigma. Like, like not necessarily a fan favorite. Oh, he's actually become more of a fan favorite in Overwatch 2, but still, he's not like a huge character. Let me see what Junker Queen is.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I softly
going to
disagree
that
with
one.
that because,
Junker
because,
Queen has
when
1,600. Sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say that I softly disagree with that because if you look at like Sigma's reveal, like pretty much everyone was saying this is the greatest thing since the invention of bread. Like,
Well, yes, but then
So-
then people didn't. I didn't see a lot of people saying they're his favorite character. They're like he's really like significant in the lore. They find him really interesting. It's like people liked the trailer and then just tended to forget about him.
I kind of disagree, but like again, maybe it's just like circles that I'm in. But I don't know. I've seen a lot of love for the old man. So
Me too. Even from like the start, basically.
Really,
I know-
It's like quiet love, you know. They don't talk about it much, but when they do, they start big rants.
right? I guess that makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, no, I can see that.
But I suppose like Echo's problem is just a problem with all Omnics that like Blizzard just fails to capitalize on making them at all interesting or relevant to the story, even though Omnics are really important to the story.
They're like
But
the
like
core of the story.
Compare Echo to Zenyatta or Bastion. People love Zen and Bastion. They talk about them all the time. But Echo, nobody cares.
Right.
That's because Echo is different. Echo is not a traditional Omnic. She's an AI. She was
Yeah.
programmed to be like that.
Yeah,
It's about
Zen and
something-
Bastion are lovable, I guess, in like a puppy sort of sense. At least Bastion is like,
Oh, yeah.
oh, he's this cute animal, effectively. Whereas like Echo's like, that thing is a human face.
Yeah, exactly.
Go over here now.
Honestly, I fucking hate that face. I hate that face.
It is a little unsettling.
yeah.
It really is.
I really wish they kept the original design that she had.
It was just
You
like
know,
a circle.
The eye hole, basically.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot more. It's a less uncanny valley.
Yeah, I feel like they tried to humanize her by giving her that human face, and all they
Right.
did is uncanny valley her
No,
and
that's-
push people away.
No, I can see that. I can see that.
But I do firmly believe that that's the reason why. And also, there's also the other thing of like, they're clearly putting a lot of their eggs in the basket of the upcoming PVE, pardon me, where we're going to be playing, you know, the story mode, etc., etc. So, I don't know how much of this is going to be irrelevant in a year's time. So.
Yeah, because
That's
I
a
think
good
Echo will
question.
actually come into play in the story mode a bit more, because she's supposed to be this like peacemaker between the two factions.
Mm.
Allegedly.
Okay, here's an idea. What do you guys think about this? Absolutely, that's what Echo was supposed to be, but nobody cares about Echo. Are they going to pull her back from the story now because they realize she doesn't sell?
I think that I think the thing with Echo is that they almost can't do that because I feel like people were so invested in Echo originally, and I feel like if they did do that, people would freak out because even if they're not super invested now, they remember that they were super invested, if you get what I mean.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the people who were invested in her, like, realized, like, when she launched, like, a wet fart, they're just like, oh, like, that's Echo.
Launched like
Yay.
a wet fart. Her gameplay is by far the most fun in Overwatch 1.
I mean, look at just this is like all spinning off of what we were talking about with like current marketing for Overwatch 2 and the meme aspect of it. They're playing very heavily into like the community's existing ideas of characters, and people don't have ideas of Echo because she's that unpopular.
Right.
Are they really going to try pushing her in the PvE and say, oh, care about this character now that you don't already care about? No, they're gonna play up the funny quips with Reinhardt and Winston telling periodic table jokes. Like, that's what they're gonna do. They're not gonna focus on Echo because nobody cares about Echo. They've already realized that she's a failed hero in that regard. Like, I can't see them pushing Echo as like a major part of the story at this point because genuinely, I just think people don't care about her.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, though, Blizzard just kind of does whatever the fuck it wants to.
Yeah, we've seen that. That's for sure.
So I don't think we have a choice in it. But,
Certainly not, but that's my thoughts on it.
But I see what you mean by, like, in terms of just plain old marketability. But again, there's also a thing of God, they haven't brought this up in a while, so I don't know how relevant this is anymore. But you know how you could change, depending on the heroes that you picked for certain missions, that the story would change.
Yeah, that
would be
no.
the outcome of what would happen if these heroes did it.
I feel like they could do that if they had the caveat that there is still one like canon outcome, because otherwise I think what they risk is they risk people completely losing any interest, right? It's because
It'd be like a menial difference, like I don't know, Lucio compliments May's toes or something.
okay, I don't know, but like I feel like you're walking a very dangerous path by sort of suddenly changing like outcomes and stuff like that, because at that point people are like, what? Okay, so it's just kind of all a joke. And I mean, maybe that's what they'll go for, but that would be kind of shooting themselves in the foot. But then again, they're really good at one thing, and that's shooting themselves in the foot
and making jokes.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I might disagree simply because we have seen it work like many a time before. So, for example, kind of like BioWare kind of Mass Effect kind of games.
Yeah,
they always worked really well. So, I mean, again, it does depend on like how far are they going to do this. I do agree that, like, if this whole character dies in one story but doesn't in the other, that's going to be a bit strange, especially
Right.
for especially for Overwatch.
right.
Lucio Overwatch fucking dies.
Oh,
Let's go!
No.
Wait, did I just straight up hallucinate this? But did I remember them saying, like, yeah, an Overwatch character will die?
No, they said the exact opposite.
Oh, I said that. I thought they said one might die.
No,
I think it was a statement from Jeff Kaplan, like, back during BlizzCon 2019, like, ages ago, where he was like, oh, we're not opposed to killing off a character in the story, but they'd still be in the game as a hero if we did that. It was a very much sort of, like, vague non-answer of, like, oh, maybe we could do that, but, like, not saying yes or no either way.
right.
This is what I googled. For the record, it is unlikely that any Overwatch 2 heroes will die in the upcoming game's PvE mode. While there are a few possibilities from a lore standpoint, such as Reinhardt dying since he has trained a successor in Brigitte, the characters play very different in PvP.
Okay. I don't really know what to make of that, but
who said it?
Gamer Rant. Overwatch 2 fans are predicting ways that the blah, 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 blah.
okay, well that's just
Was
predicting.
it a quote from a dev or just community sentiments?
I think.
I don't know. I'm giving you the quick
It's
answer.
an article, you know. You can never know, except if you check the sources, and then the sources I made it the fuck up.
Okay, here we go.
What's your source, Senator?
Heroes never
My
die.
source said I
On a
made it the
regular
fuck
basis.
up.
The Overwatch team begs to differ, but don't worry, says the game director Jeff Kaplan. Even an Overwatch hero were to bite the dust, they'd still have a life after death.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing
There
Okay,
you go.
yeah, that might be the
Kotaku.
my proper quote of what I was thinking of.
Right.
It wouldn't mean a lot if we killed off a character at this point because you didn't know a lot about them.
Jeff really always did just spit facts.
Yeah.
When you know that, so it's just okay. You're not wrong, Jeff.
That's hilarious.
I don't agree,
That's
Jeff, but
hilarious.
I can't say you're wrong.
No, he's not. He's spitting.
It's just, yeah. It's just. Ugh.
So when's that Zen lore coming?
I feel like the Zenlore was in the form of Ramatra, which is a little odd.
Ramatra is the Zen lore.
I think that literally is the case. I think Ramatra literally is the Zenlore.
They started working on Zen lore, and then they're like, "Shit, we made another hero. Fuck."
No, they said they were making. Ramatra has been in the works since before Storm Rising came out, which is fucking bizarre.
He's been around for ages.
Which is, and that's the
As
thing.
a playable hero?
Yes. Here's the thing.
Or at least the idea for him.
This
in
is-
terms
this
of like,
is-
oh, this is a hero we're gonna make.
This is a question I have, right? Do you think that we are now about to hit the characters that have not been in development since time immemorial? Do you think we're finally
Yes.
okay? Because
I think this next support hero is going to be like remarkably different from the past 4 heroes we've seen in terms of like their development process. It might not even be something that we can like outward notice, just like as the public. But like I feel like internally, this is like the first upcoming new hero that it's like this was made after everything changed.
right? Because I always
the
got
Fire
I always
Nation
got the
attacked.
sense that that Sojourn through Kiriko have been in the works since before Overwatch 2 was announced.
I mean, we know
I mean,
that.
absolutely. We know for a
They've said
fact that they were based off of that Game Informer article. They showed the silhouettes.
Right.
And we know for a fact that they had at least plans for Junker Queen since way, way far back.
Well, actually, that might not be true. That we might get one more because remember, we still haven't gotten the drone character.
We also haven't gotten Mauga.
Drone character. What official do we have on the drone character?
Remember that article where they gave the silhouettes? They said there was a character with like drones around his head.
No. You must be thinking of something else. That definitely wasn't in the Game Informer article.
What was? Because I know
Because
Sojourn.
the Game Informer article described Kiriko with the fox,
Yep.
a warlock-looking character with a staff,
That's
which of course is
Ramatra.
Ramatra now, and then 2 other feminine characters. That was all the description given on the other 2.
Well, no, we knew that one was like a well, yeah, I guess they weren't specific about JQ, but I remember them sounding. It sounded to me like one of the silhouettes was not Sojourn. Because we knew what Sojourn looked like by that point, and they would have been able to tell it was Sojourn.
The article was actually written before BlizzCon 2019, where we got the proper Sojourn reveal.
Oh, really? Okay.
And, like, the person who wrote it went back and said, like, no, that wasn't Sojourn. But, like, I'm very iffy on whether or not, like, they were shown a silhouette of Sojourn that was, like, a different, like, concept art than what we'd seen at that point. And so they're like, okay, they don't recognize it as Sojourn. And the same could easily have applied to Junker Queen as well.
True.
Assuming she was the other silhouette. So that, like, at the time, seeing the silhouette, you're like, I don't recognize those.
Right.
And then 2 weeks later, BlizzCon happens, you get the Sojourn reveal. At that point, how much do you remember detail-wise of a silhouette shown for a few seconds?
Right.
Like, I think it's extremely likely that those 4 silhouettes were these first 4 heroes we've gotten.
Okay.
And any information, like, you know, talked about after that was just misremembering / details slightly being weird.
Okay.
Such that it doesn't seem certain. That's my thoughts on it. I think we've seen all 4 of those silhouettes now.
And I mean, Ness just brought up a good point about Mauga. Like, we know that Mauga has been in development in one form or another since, before Sigma.
Before Sigma, even.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, because it
And
sounded.
he's been in active development. We know that.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it won't be linear. Maybe we'll get Mauga later because they feel the need to release supports, which makes sense.
I mean, they've announced supports, so I don't think they're gonna deviate on
Yeah,
it.
no, I mean,
Yeah.
I get the sense that that's what's more happening. I get the sense that maybe I'm wrong, but if they didn't feel obligated to release supports, the next hero would be Mauga.
I mean, people thought that Ramatra would have been Mauga,
Yes, so did I. I think everyone
which
did.
was extremely likely, but apparently he's either not done yet or they needed Ramatra in the game beforehand.
Which is so strange.
Them
Like, what does Ramatra add that they needed in the game?
Lore.
Story. Yeah.
Story, I guess. Yeah. I mean,
He is
Also,
the
Isn't
he
main.
was done.
He's the main villain.
he and Doomfist are co-main villains, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like they needed to show him off before the story kicked off because
Right.
we literally just called him Null Hector.
Yeah. That
We
makes
did
sense.
not know.
That makes sense. No, I get it.
Yeah, also keep in mind, just because a hero has been in development like from a point in time, doesn't mean that they're like finished at any given point.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
know.
like Sojourn has been in development since before Overwatch 1 launched. So like characters can be in development hell for ages. Even if like Mauga has like passively been worked on since before Sigma, doesn't mean they have a finished version of Mauga even now at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, I guess that makes
Mercy is
sense.
still in
Equally.
development hell.
Equally,
Mercy's
never
still in
forget.
development now.
Equally, never forget. Rounding back to Echo, when that cinematic came out, everyone expected Echo, but it turned out to be Ash because they just randomly liked her and they just thought, yeah, this kid is fun. Add her in.
Man,
Yeah, also, look at how much Echo's character design changed between Reunion and 0 Hour. Like, those are like a year apart. And, like, obviously at the time of Reunion, well, they even outright said at the time of Reunion they were intending for Echo to be a support.
Yeah,
And then
right.
that all
Yes.
changed radically over the next year.
because they really wanted to go for the duplicate. Yeah, which would
Which
make
is probably why they had the human face on it, because they were like, oh, let's make her a lot more personable and lovely
Oh,
and
yeah.
caring, and then
certainly.
murder machine.
And that's the thing, right? With Ash, I'm not gonna say I disagree with them deciding to make Ash a character, because I feel like there's no wrong way to decide to make a character, right? I feel like
Unless it's Kiriko.
unless it's Kiriko, but I feel like there's no wrong reason for them to decide that a character should be made. Except Brigitte, but except maybe with the idea that we just need something to hard counter the meta. That's not good. But no, I don't know. I admittedly I half joke when I say that I feel like Bob should have been the character because Bob is a lot more endearing. But yeah, I don't know. I know there are plenty of people who adore Ash. I don't get it. So it's I don't know. I'll be curious to see what this next hero is, because we know it's a support. We know it's some unique mechanic, which is either going to be really cool or really annoying. Anyways,
Unique mechanic. You're gonna have to reboot the game whenever they ult.
yeah.
Oh, boy.
You're just immediately sent back to spawn. Everyone teleports back to their spawn.
No, the main menu.
The main
It'll give a rejoin button. Anyone with bad Wi-Fi just dies.
Actually, can you imagine?
It just takes you directly to the shop.
Can you imagine?
It automatically has you spend 100 Overwatch coins on a voice line.
but can you imagine a fucking ultimate where all it does is literally just send both teams back to their spawn?
Gosh,
That would be.
That would just...
that'd be
Would they
painful.
be a dive hero? Because then it's like whoever's fastest wins that scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what would
Like,
be really funny? Do you know the way like we all said like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if like Maximilian became a character? What if he's the one who sends you to the shop?
There you go.
Oh my
There we
god.
go.
Oh my
We did
god,
it.
his ultimate is that if you get close to him, you get a fucking pop-up for the shop.
Do you want to buy this voice line? No, no, yes, no.
Oh man.
Back to a voice line that stood out to me as being very new direction, right? Okay, Widowmaker has always been this serious, like super fucking cardboard character.
Yeah, sometimes it's 6 shots, 1 kill.
Yeah, that line just was like, that would not have existed in Overwatch 1.
My favorite new line.
Yeah, that's not her, you know.
Yeah, my
I'm
favorite.
not saying that.
My
the
favorite new
player's
line
saying
for
that.
this season,
Right.
this season is absolutely Moira's. Well, aren't you just pathetic?
But she would say that.
I love that line.
That's the most in-character line for
I
her.
love that line.
Yeah,
It's-
talking again about the whole like shift in the meme direction for the game. Like, I feel like there's definitely been an inconsistency with how characters have sort of like resulted from that. Some characters absolutely benefit from that shift, like Junkrat, Wrecking Ball. I think benefits from it as well. Moira, but then other characters are just sort of being like butchered by it.
And
So
that's
it's like,
and that's the thing. Like, I said this earlier. I think depending on how you interpret it, Sigma has gotten better or worse. I think it's entirely how you interpret it. Because
Lucio's gotten worse.
because yeah, Lucio's absolutely gotten worse. Lucio has gone from insufferable to I want to just remove him from the game.
Lucio has gone from super happy DJ man to whoa man, he's a little too happy.
Oh man, he okay? But I feel like Sigma has become either better or worse how you interpret this new sense, because you can either interpret it as him becoming, oh, he's just funny, like crazy old man, or you can interpret it as like, oh, he's really falling into like the detachment from reality sort of shit's
Oh,
get
my man has truly entered the abyss at
like
this point.
like shit like he's
entered the
truly
meme
starting to
realm.
like get lost in the sauce. Like he's gonna start getting much scarier sort of thing. And then obviously I think you have characters that are just inherently worse, like Diva, who went from
I think
awful,
Diva unfortunately fits though.
who just went from awful to I cringe every time you open your fucking mouth. It's I don't know.
yeah,
Imagine
been
being Diva's voice
Kiriko-ified.
I don't know. Diva sort of is the other Kiriko, isn't she?
She's the OG Kiriko, but like done in Overwatch 1 she was done well. And then they butchered her and then made a carbon copy of her and called it Kiriko.
Do you?
And
They
then
were
they
like,
threw that into
yes,
a
copy paste.
thresher, and then
Change-
they're like, aha, we have a hero.
Oh no! What
change the origin, change the role. There it is.
No, what they did is they literally just took Diva and they were like, they made a carbon copy and then they were like, how can we make her rude and insufferable? Like, and
They
it's
carbon copied Diva, threw her on the ground, stomped her a bunch, and then we're like, all right, we have a new hero.
and,
And yeah,
Perfect.
now we have Kiriko.
and that's the thing. Like Diva, do you remember when everyone was like, oh shit, they might actually be doing something meaningful with Diva? Like, Shooting Star was not amazing, but it at least indicated something interesting. Like.
Oh wait, there's more to this character. It's like no, more
No,
memes.
no, she's just a meme fountain.
Yeah, people kind of forget that, like, in Shooting Star, like, Diva has, like, PTSD flashbacks because she's a fucking war criminal.
Like,
Yeah,
And, like, I'm not saying that as, like, no, sorry, not a war criminal, a literal, like, war hero,
yeah,
you know?
she's a
Also
19-year-old
a
who's
superstar.
seen horrific shit. So it's
19-year-old
Yeah.
veteran.
yeah,
the
She
vets
literally-
keep coming younger ages nowadays.
She quite literally almost gets herself killed because that's what she thought was the right thing to do.
exactly.
And like no one unpacked that. I'm like, what on earth? But GG, I guess.
Yeah, GG.
By the way, gang,
Yeah,
you know, I'm just gonna, you know, the character was brought up and it got me thinking about one of the main topics I think will be of the episode, and truly will be the time I mute my mic and just eat my soup while you guys just yell at each other.
Okay.
So, there was a mention of Widow,
Yep.
and very
Don't
recently,
even get me
Roadhog has.
started.
Don't you worry. Just let me finish up the setup, and I'll get you rolling, baby.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So very recently, we had a whole bunch of changes with Roadhog, and then overall a community upset in terms of like one shots, right?
Yep.
Especially from going from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, and I'm very curious as to what you guys feel as though is the role of one shots in Overwatch 2, or even if it should have a role in Overwatch 2.
I can talk about that for hours. And
Go
why
ahead.
why
Sweetie.
they're
I have
important.
plenty to eat.
And
Go right on ahead, guys.
so I think that one shots are important because we're already actively seeing the effects of them being less frequent.
Less frequent.
No. Hear me out. By less frequent, I mean less heroes that have them. And
It's only Hawk that doesn't have it anymore.
no, Reinhardt doesn't have one either. And that was important. Ryan only has the charge now, and that's very inconsistent. It's actually less consistent than the Shatter was. So, I'm gonna... let me elaborate. So, I have always been of the opinion that one-shots are fine as long as the opponent needs to be close to you. At least, not mid-range at most, right? I'm of the opinion that a long-range one-shot should only be a thing if it's very periodic, and it only comes around like every how many seconds? Not frequently, like 10 seconds or something like that.
Comes up infrequently.
Very infrequently. And it needs to be from a character that you can easily do something about between shots. And that's my issue with Widowmaker, and it's the reason I had no issue with Reinhardt, Doomfist, or Roadhog. Because Roadhog, I feel like the issue with Roadhog was more that he was indestructible than it was that he had the one-shot. Because the reason you need Hog's one-shot is, first of all, the entire character is built from top to bottom to facilitate it. And second of all, it's part of why we're seeing shit like, especially since we had Mercy get those changes in the same patch, we're seeing it very quickly. Nothing fucking dies as long as Mercy is on like a target. There's not enough burst damage. You need to one-shot things. And
you need to also remember that that's also because of the Mercy.
Oh, I get
itself.
it, but it's a perfect example of why one-shots are important. And it's because, ultimately, there's always gonna be a weird relationship between damage and healing, right? That's always going to exist. You're always going to have, this weird balance between, is healing too high, is damage too high? It's always going to go back and forth, or it's going to be in this weird limbo like it is now, where everyone is saying that either the damage is too high or the healing is too high. And one-shots almost act as a island of consistency there. And that is important because one-shots essentially act like an instantaneous anti-nade, right? And that is, and by that I mean you can't heal the target before it dies, right? That is incredibly important because you need to have some level of guaranteed kill power in the game, or else nothing happens. And they don't need to be frequent, and they don't even need to be, they don't even need to be, long range or anything like that. They shouldn't be usually, but they shouldn't be across a ton of characters. They should only be a handful of characters that can do it. But Hog was an essential character for that. One, because he can deal with mobility and shut it down, which he can sort of do now, but not nearly as well. And two, because nothing dies. If there's a good Mercy, and there's like another, and the other healer is good, nothing dies, unless you have a Hog that like has figured out the super tedious, inconsistent, like you might as well not be playing Hog sort of one-shot that he has now. And I mean...
I don't think Hog was the main pillar that whole balance triangle was on, actually.
But that's the thing. Hog kind of got sucked into he got sucked into a vortex that he had that was not of his own making. And I think I think you could see this throughout the beginning of Overwatch 1, the first couple months. Everyone was like, Hog is garbage. But then Kiriko came out and enabled him. And that's why I think we see exactly what the problem was. Because what did Kiriko do? Kiriko made it so that you couldn't kill Hog. That was the problem. The problem was never the one-shot. He's still fucking indestructible. But he just does nothing else.
The man stands on points and throws a stun every 7 seconds.
Exactly, that's what he does.
He's now more valuable for the stun off the hook than the one shot.
Exactly, and at that point you might as well just play fucking Orisa. Just play Orisa. And that's saying something, because it's Orisa.
Orisa's also one of the better characters in the game at the moment.
Oh yeah, but that's more because of process of elimination, really.
No, as in, during the Hog patch, she was the best character in the game.
No, I know.
She got nerfed.
I know, but again, I think that's more because of process of elimination, because, I mean, Reinhardt, Zarya, Diva is okay, Ball was,
Ball is okay now.
Ball is
Doomfist
okay now, but Ball was before, like, oh boy, and then you had Winston, which is Monkey.
Monkey's pretty good, actually.
I know, but for a lot of Overwatch 2, in the beginning, he was not good. He's okay now, but JQ is still, like, she's all right. She was awful before. Doomfist.
She was broken at first,
yeah,
then awful. Now she's
okay.
Eh.
Then you have Doomfist, who is just a fucking catastrophe of a tank, a mistake, a walking, flying mistake. And then you have Sigma, who, I'm gonna have a hot take here, I think is the most balanced tank, but simply because he just doesn't really do anything that is super useful. He just sort of does Sigma things. He doesn't really have a standout role anymore. He just sort of, he's Sigma. He's neutral. He's kind of neutral on the chart. And then you have Ramatra, who is such a fucking bizarre hero, because, you know, his value was in his ultimate, right? And now the ultimate is like, it's okay. And the rest of him is like, he still has a fucking
wild that they changed the ultimate to be a max timer of 20 seconds, and people are now like, huh.
It's not
it goes
that good.
off, like, it just shuts off before it gets all the value at once.
That's, listen, I feel like we're going to have to talk about that ult later, because that ult had both balance problems after this patch, and it had, like, why this was actually kind of fun problems. But that's the thing. Roadhog was not the problem. Like, he himself was not the problem. The problem was that a character came around who just made him unkillable. And, you know, I would argue that the thing that they should have done is just reduce the damage resistance on the vape. Like, 30%. There you go. That makes him a lot more, like, manageable, because he can't just heal through everything. And now what we're going to see is they're going to be like, oh, we're going to give Roadhog some utility. And it's like, unless you're going to give him, like, Kiriko levels of utility, there's nothing that you can do to Hog unless you fully rework him that's going to make him good.
I give him a gap.
It's like, I desperately hope that at some point in the future, because I don't expect it to be soon. I mean, there is this thing among hog mains called the hog cycle, which is that he's like fine for a while, and then there's like 2 weeks where for some reason something comes along that makes him busted, and then he's garbage for a year. or more, and then they buff him again to be like okay, and then the cycle continues.
It's happened over the years. I know the hog cycle because I've heard from hog players.
Yes.
It's just the hog cycle of misery. It's just whenever the Overwatch League finds out hog exists, it's just a fucking problem.
And that's the thing. It's like I don't even. Hog is not a problematic character in of himself. The problem is that
Every time he's playable, he is a problem.
well, he's only a problem if he's a problem at really high levels, and if there's nothing you can really do about it. Because I think that the lower damage is fine because it means that he can't kill other tanks as easily, which is fine. I feel like the issue that would always come up when he was really good for any reason was, one, he was indestructible, and two, he could kill tanks. Because, or at least easily kill tanks, because I honestly feel like the fact that he could one-shot squishies was, I'm not gonna say it's like that's a you problem, but it was largely a you problem. Like,
My man's like, no, but not a balance issue, skill issue.
it was a skill issue. Like,
What? Okay, if it's a skill issue, how is the character somehow unbalanced at the highest rank in the game?
well, I think this.
If the skill issue character is still a skill issue at GM, what are you doing?
I don't think it's a skill issue when he's highly enabled, but I think if it's just Hog being Hog, I think it's a skill issue.
The whole idea of the game is that you enable each other, though.
Well, yes, but Hog is kind of a bitch to enable a lot of the time because he doesn't offer.
And now he's
anything else.
enableable. Look at him go.
Exactly. I mean, when Kiriko came around and made him indestructible, I mean, that's what happened. But, I mean,
I unironically think he could get higher damage on his gun now. It wouldn't matter because he's not going to one-shot squishies.
exactly. It makes Hog like largely pointless. It's
No, as in, they could just up the damage on his gun now because he doesn't pull people as close anymore.
but I mean that would kind of one shot anyways.
No, just make the one-shot slightly more consistent and people would be like, oh no, don't make the one-shot too consistent.
Well,
And they nerf the healing.
Well, I think just nerfing the healing would be fine. I think if you just not even the healing, but like the damage resistance on the healing. Like, I'll be honest with you, my singular problem with the change they gave was literally just how close he pulls people in. I don't care about everything else. Was like, okay, sure, that's fair. The problem is how close he pulls people in, because otherwise, what does Hog offer that is really worth playing over another character, like another tank? Like, what is? It's the stun. He can stun people, I guess. He can't really get in there and get super quick kills anymore. So I don't really see the point. I feel like the fact that he's lost the one shot means that we've essentially come into a state where he can't do what he was designed to do, which is shut down large amounts of healing, and he doesn't really serve a function.
And Ian, I know you have your opinions. Do you want to take the floor?
Well, this wasn't originally the stance I was thinking of taking, but I think this is very relevant based off of what you've been saying, Astro. We're talking about what does someone like Roadhog bring to the table now. As someone who is a tank main and has historically played all the tank heroes, I think right now, well, it happened a while ago at this point, but like, we've reached peak tank diversity in Overwatch 2.
Mm-hmm, I agree.
Where we've reached a point where you can no longer have every tank hero be their own thing. They're either going to be obsolete compared to a different tank hero, or they're just not going to bring something useful to the table, given the state of tanks as they exist in Overwatch 2.
Okay.
And so when it comes to talking about heroes like Roadhog, and like, earlier comparing him to like Orisa, and it's like, oh, Orisa can just do what he does, but better with the like stun. We've reached a point where it's almost like, is it even worthwhile to talk about it, or should we just accept that at any given point half the tank heroes are going to be nullified by other tank heroes and their presence? Like, that's kind of my stance on it, where it's like, we could talk endlessly about like Roadhog's like power level at the moment when he loses the one shot with the hook combo, but it's like, at the end of the day, okay, He's just been cycled off the viable tank roster. And, like, I don't think we're ever going to reach a point where every tank hero is just sort of, like, viable.
I agree to an extent with that, but at the same time, I feel like the way that you would have done that cycle him off, is to deal with the fact that he was indestructible, because otherwise you're almost unnecessarily cycling him off to an unnecessary degree. Because there's making him not meta, and then there's making him, like, even if you're just playing Hog for fun, you're not playing Hog. There's a difference there, because there are a lot of people like me who look at the character roster and they're like, okay, I could either, like, play a really meta hero that, one, I'm not great at, and two, I don't like playing, or I could play a not meta hero who I know I'm good at and I do like playing. And I feel like you're almost unnecessarily punishing those people by removing something like the one-shot. Because at that point, you can solve the problem by making him not as indestructible, but by removing the one-shot, you're also punishing the people who don't really have anything to do with the meta. And that's the thing that I think has always been a problem with Overwatch, is that the casual players are always sort of collateral damage on to the competitive, like, balance. I feel like this is another example of that, where they didn't have to do this. They could have just made him not indestructible and nerfed the damage the way they did, and I think it would have been fine. And I agree. I mean, you're gonna have tanks who get cycled off, but I feel like they did it in a way where it's gonna be unnecessarily punishing to the people who still want to play him after he's cycled off.
Certainly the change to the hook combo has, like, completely altered his playstyle. I actually quite enjoy the new playstyle in terms of that it's more engaging. It's not just, oh, I kill someone every 7 seconds. It's like, oh, now I can, like, shoot people and try to wear them down and then look for, like, a prime target to hook, instead of just, oh, look, someone who doesn't have a barrier in front of them, hook die, yay! Like,
which he's not an instant kill, he's a kill confirm.
Well, but that's the thing. I mean, at that point, again, it's not fulfilling the point of nullifying the healing, which is the important part of it.
He's a kill confirm. If you get hooked, you die. You still do, just not to him.
Well, but that's what I mean. You can still get healed through that. If someone if you
can't get healed through 170 damage usually.
If you have a Mercy on you who is healing you for, what is it, 67.5 healing per second?
62.5, I think.
That's still, unless you're extremely coordinated, that's still not great. But
it only heals that for the first half.
Yes, but after that, you're still gonna have this character who is moving around and is gonna be able to get out of the way and is gonna be getting healed the whole time, and Hog is just sitting there like, shit, that I wasn't able to get the kill confirmed because they were getting healed while they were getting pulled to me. That's happened to me multiple times since the Hog changes, especially with Mercy, where it's like, okay, I've worn them down a little bit, I'm gonna hook them in, see what happens, and then by the time they reach me, they're full health again. And it's like, you need a way to counteract that. You need a way that it's just like, you have been hooked, you die. Because otherwise, we're going to have this issue where, unless they make healing absolutely garbage, which is going to be a much bigger problem than just Hog, it's going to be so hard to kill anything. And I mean, at least for Hog, because I've always said Hog's a necessary evil, because otherwise, if there's no baseline, like, guarantee for kills, just like almost sort of like how Baptiste is a guarantee survive, you're gonna have problems, because you always need something to push through those periods where the game is going to be weird like that, where you're gonna have way too much healing or way too much damage.
I mean, going to just pop in, if Roadhog is a necessary evil, why is Widowmaker not a necessary evil, even though her entire kit is surrounded towards one shot?
Because I'll be entirely honest with you, I think she's also a necessary evil, just in a much worse form.
I would agree with that.
Just in a much worse form.
In fact, I'd even go as far as to say she isn't evil. She's just necessary.
Is or isn't?
Isn't evil.
Yeah.
I feel like they could rework Widow to still have the one shot.
Yes, they could. And I would be fine with that. It's just that one-shots are so important because you need something to override healing. Just something to completely and I know healers are going to be, they always complain about it, just as tanks always complain about when damage is too high, but it's just like there needs to be a baseline guarantee in this game, or else you're always going to have these shit shows where, depending on a single patch, everything gets completely fucked. Because that's just the way the game is. So it's, whether you find this new playstyle more fun or you don't, the problem is still that, from a balance perspective even, he's not performing a very essential role. Think about it like an ecosystem, right? Roadhog is sort of a keystone species.
Roadhog is a bottom feeder.
Hog is kind of a bottom feeder because you need something that is consistent, that will always have a job, that even if he's not in every single meta, you need something that you can pull out when the enemy healers are just going off. Like, you need something. People always complain about it, but it's like, we're now seeing the effects of one less character that can do it, and it's not pretty.
That's not cause and effect. They also just changed the Mercy very drastically.
They did. But I see it when there's other when there's other healers as well. I play games where my team has a hog or the enemy team has a hog, and nothing happens. The hog doesn't do anything. The hog sort of, he chips people, but then the healers just heal that chip. And then when hog pulls them in, they can be at half health, but by the time they reach hog, they're more or less at full health, and so hog doesn't do anything. It's almost the sort of same thing with Reinhardt, and this is going to sound strange, but I think that Shatter one-shot was more than just a fun thing. I feel like that actually, there was a benefit to it, because...
Well, that's probably why they changed it. They felt it was getting too much value.
But that's the thing.
I don't agree with. But...
I don't think it did. I don't think it was super consistent. It wasn't. It was more consistent than the charge, but it wasn't that consistent. And it was an ultimate. It's an ultimate.
No, I will say, I pretty much every single time I went to go shatter people, I would just do it for the one shot.
Yeah, and I mean, it's
and now you can't do that anymore, and people don't die to shatter.
It's an ultimate. It's that's fair. There are ultimates that arguably are a lot more dangerous than just getting hit by a shatter.
I suppose, what are your arguments for, there's actually, I slightly disagree on the notion that Overwatch is lacking one-shot heroes, because we have many in the attack category. So I suppose what you are arguing is that there needs to be more within the tank category as well. But why do you think that needs to be included in the tank category too?
Because ultimately the job of tanks is to scare people. It's to make sure that an area is very difficult to inhabit for the enemy team. And the purest form of that is just to kill them. And I get that, you're going to have characters like Reinhardt, where the idea is that he stands there and he has a barrier, and if you get near him, he swings.
Man doesn't have a barrier. He has a hammer. He does the same shit Hog does. He threatens damage.
Yeah, but I mean, with a barrier. He has a barrier, but yes.
That's not why he's good.
But it's the same thing. It's essentially because you need the tanks to tank. Tanking is more than just soaking damage, and I think we saw this with Orisa. Because if all you do is stand there and not die, sure, it has value, but you're not tanking as much as you're being an inconvenience. And that's not fun for anybody. and it's not particularly good design. It's you need...
I would kind of disagree. Well, the design aspect, I think you're kind of spot on with it being bad design in terms of like
Overwatch is a game where the most effective thing any given hero can do is just kill an enemy hero. So it's like, oh, we're gonna shift Roadhog and tanks away from like killing the enemy and more of disrupting and area controlling. It's like, okay, that's an interesting like choice for what a tank does, but ultimately it's just not as good as just killing the enemy, and nothing ever will be. So like, in terms of like the idea of what a tank does, where it's like, oh, they disrupt and they threaten by dislocating an enemy with the chain hook, even if they don't kill them, like, that's a cool idea for a tank, but it's just not as effective as just killing.
Yeah, and I mean,
so, like,
and at the same time, I don't think that every tank should be like that. I think it would be bad if every tank was like that. I think there should be tanks that are more just being about disrupting. And I mean, look at that. We have a hamster that does exactly that, and I think that's fine. But you still do need characters that are that kill form of tank, because otherwise we have the problems I've already talked about.
yeah, it's almost as if they're homogenizing every hero in a given role. I wonder if there was a role that begins with S that they've already been doing that to for months, if not years at this point.
Exactly. That's the thing. And as I've said, I think if they just went and reverted that one change to the hook, I don't think we'd have a problem. It's the same thing as if they just, instead of reducing it from 250 to 170 on the shatter, they just reduced it to 200. It's fine, whatever. But that breakpoint is still important to have. It's because right now...
Yeah, but I think you run into the issue where it's like, okay, like, what's better, disrupting the enemy or killing the enemy? Obviously killing the enemy. Well, if one tank can kill the enemy and the other one just disrupts them, the one that can kill is just objectively better. So, like,
but that's
at that point, it's like, okay, some tanks are good and others are just not as good.
But that's
on that fundamental level.
But that's
some heroes do something. The others are ball.
But that's why.
But that's why are fun to play.
That's why I think that it was fine that Hog did nothing but one shot, because.
But now he can do more than one shot. They just need to find an identity for him, because they agree that he's currently not in a spot where they like him.
Because if you don't have the one shot, there's still the problems I mentioned, but he still doesn't. He's still, because he can't do anything else, and to give him anything else that would be really meaningful, they'd have to completely rework him. I don't see the point in getting rid of it in the first place, because at that point you're just removing a consistent tool in the toolbox of the balance of the game. It's just, people can say, oh, it's not fun, but I mean, there's so many fucking things in this game that aren't fun. I'd say that the Roadhog is one of the lower concerns there.
Yeah, it's like they took away Roadhog's power drill and gave him a very nice screwdriver set. It's like, cool, yeah, a bunch of different screwdrivers you can use now, but none of them come even close to being as useful as the power drill.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and again, I think it's I do think it's important that there be a spectrum of characters, of tanks that kill and tanks that disrupt. Because while it's true that killing will always be more valuable, if the killing is one, not all the time, i.e. every 8 seconds, if it's every 8 seconds and not every 2 seconds, and if they don't do much else, there's a role for that, but it doesn't. But it's also not a super consistent like really meta role, because ultimately there's a reason why Hog for most of Overwatch's history has not been meta, because having nothing but the one shot does not make him better than the characters that can offer other things, like a variety of things. It's still important to have him, though, if you get what I mean.
There's a difference between those previous times, though.
What's that? There's only one? Yeah,
that he was a choice to make on a team of 2 tanks.
Yeah, I know.
And the environment for the previous game was quite different. Getting a pick mattered less, which is crazy to say.
Yes, but at the same time, we also there is also the issue that nowadays, because of that, it's almost, how should I put this? It's almost too inconsistent with how much anything gets done in a fight. It's because, at least in my experience, in Overwatch 1, when there was a fight, things died because things were relatively close together, and you could see the enemy could see you. You just kind of more or less slammed into each other. But nowadays, it's more like a death match, where it's true that a single death matters more, but at the same time, it's not guaranteed that anything will happen after that death. And so it's I've just found that because things are so much more spread out, it's more like a bunch of individual points of power that were taking one off matters less, because the others can just go off and do their own thing because they're not one unit. Versus
in this game, right, where people go off on their own in like little groups of 1, 2, 3 maybe.
Yeah.
You get a character that is functionally unkillable, will win any 1v1, is immediately cleansed because there's a character for that.
Yeah.
And cannot be dislocated, stunned, or done anything to that matters.
Yeah.
And he just one-shots you.
And that's the reason
That doesn't work.
That's the reason why I think the problem was that he was indestructible. If he's not
They can't change that anymore, though. Kiriko will stay in the game.
Well, yes, but again, the problem...
He's still indestructible.
Kiriko...
Even if you take away the 50% damage resistance. The cleanse alone makes him indestructible.
But I mean, I think that's a problem with Kiriko. I don't think that's a problem with Hog.
Let me give you an example of every single... the last time Hog was broken in Overwatch 1 was when he was given the ability to cleanse himself.
Yes.
Hog Zarya meta.
I remember.
That didn't exist because Hog was particularly busted. That existed because Zarya worked with the slightly busted Hog.
Yes, and that's
when nothing can stop the one shot, except for the thing stopping Hog normally.
Yeah.
Hog just fucking eats your ass and you can't do anything.
But that's what I mean. I think Kiriko...
And even if you don't kill him, even if he doesn't kill you, it doesn't matter because he gains enough value anyways that things still die.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what's important about Hog, and I think the issue is much more Kiriko, because the fact that, what is it, a 14-second cooldown or something, that she can do that?
Oh no, it is 15. Never mind.
It's preposterous.
I keep thinking that they've already balanced it.
It's preposterous. If it was on a 20-second cooldown, it wouldn't be nearly as much of an issue. And if it was like 0.2 seconds or something, it would have been fine.
Liz really was out here being like, what if we made Lamp but better, and then made the cooldown 15 instead of 25?
And that's the thing. Hog is a victim of the fact that they've decided to make a support that's ridiculous. It's not a problem with Hog. It's the fact that Hog is enabled by this stuff, and when they introduce stuff like that, the implications are going to go a lot further beyond just Hog.
Yeah, we know. I mean, look, Kiriko's going to stay in the game, right?
Yeah.
Hog's going to stay in the game, and you can't remove one without the other, right? Nowadays,
right?
You can't just remove one of them.
Yep.
And the interaction they have is fundamentally broken. Even if you nerf Kiriko, even if you nerf Hog, they're gonna stick together regardless because their functions line up.
But I mean, think about it like this: if you have Hog with, say, hell, maybe even no damage resistance on the vape, and you have Kiriko with a Suzu that's on a 20-second cooldown, suddenly you have way more that you can do to both of them.
Yes, but they didn't go that route, did they?
No, that's the problem, because they've essentially sacrificed what Hog fundamentally does and why it's important for this kind of wishy-washy, you've ruined him because of one interaction that is not his fault sort of thing.
But they've stated they're already going to change that shit. Like, he's not going to stay like this.
Yeah, but again, what can they possibly change that without giving him a full rework, unless they give him something absolutely busted that would make him worth it?
I don't know. A one-shot, perhaps?
Exactly!
But, like, they have the one-shot there, right?
Yeah.
They have the immortality there, because he's going to be immortal, regardless, because Kiriko exists. Sure, they're going to have to nerf Kiriko first. Of course, the devs see Roadhog broken, and they're like, alright, let's nerf Roadhog instead of nerfing Kiriko.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why he's broken.
Yeah. That's the problem.
And then the devs look at the win rates, and they're like, oh shit, Kiriko for some reason has a 44% win rate. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Fun fact, Kiriko is the character with the lowest win rate in the game at the moment.
Why is that?
We don't know,
That's
but
bizarre.
she is.
I
Across
have an
all
idea.
ranks, she has the lowest win rate.
But I mean, remember what I was saying before we actually started recording? That there's a good way to do unbalanced stuff and a bad way to do balanced stuff. I feel like we're looking at a bad way to do unbalanced stuff with Kiriko then, because if she's that bad, but she still has that Suzu, I think it might be the Suzu that's a problem then, because
I mean, we know the Suzu is the problem. It's just they're gonna do the same shit with Suzu as they did with Orisa Halt. You know, they're
Just
gonna
ignore
nerf
it.
everything except the problem for
Yep.
several patches.
Yep.
And then they're gonna address the problem, and the character's completely dogshit and unusable.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay, but now on to Widowmaker.
Well, I feel like can we make a final statement on the Hog Reinhardt stuff? Can we make a
Final statement. They're working on it.
There were. I guess so. I guess that is a final statement, but I mean
That is
more.
a final statement.
I mean more of like a conclusion that we've come to, not like just informing people who are listening of what they're doing.
I mean, that's
They're
the
working on it.
only opinion I have. It's like, yeah, they probably know that they fucked up. They're just trying to find a way to not make it completely busted. So they're gonna pretty much just remove it from the game until they find a solution.
What are you talking about?
Well, they look at what happened to Sombra, right? They functionally just removed her from the game entirely. She did nothing for a while.
And everything is better for it. I said it.
Yes, and then they were like, okay, how can we handle this? So they slightly buffed her hack again, and she hasn't been a problem, but she's not been completely unplayable.
And I think Sombra's largely fine, honestly. I can't believe I'm
Yes,
saying
but it
that.
took her 7 or 8 patches.
But that's the thing. They went back and they made Sombra do what Sombra does. That's what I'm concerned about with Hog, is they're not going to realize, wait, this isn't what Hog does.
No, they'll realize, like, literally give this to like the most fucking mouth breather, glue eater person ever, and they'll be like, wait, why doesn't this one shot?
Exactly, yeah. I mean, but I have no faith in them. I have no faith in the fucking devs. So I trust that they're gonna leave something ruined until time immemorial.
Like, if anything should have changed, it's like either the damage resistance or the healing, or just if you really want it to be less frequent, just up the cooldown
It's
on
not the
the
cooldown.
hook.
Yeah, I don't get it. And as for Reinhardt, it's just sort of like, why? No one complained about it.
The Reinhardt one is a bit more of a question, but I don't mind it that much either, because I didn't actively keep it in mind.
Oh, I did. When I played Reinhardt, I was like, my ideal shatter was I run up to a squishy close to me, and then I shatter the people behind him. So.
Oh, I mean, I keep it in mind as Reinhardt, but as anyone else, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I've honestly never run into anyone who was like, "Oh, that's bullshit," when they just get shattered in the face. Everyone was like, "Lamau, fair enough."
But this is also a kind of a balance change that's like, it'll change nothing. Why make it?
Yeah, exactly. It'll change nothing. It was just fun. It was dumb fun.
But speaking of balance changes that also did nothing and will change nothing, and yet they thought would do a lot.
Widowmaker. Okay, so I actually played a bunch of games yesterday as Ball, and I will say she is easier to kill, but the enemy healers have
As
to
a
be...
ball that got fucking giga buffed, it's slightly easier to kill Widowmaker
Exactly,
now.
exactly. No, really, it is.
The sole character designed to kill this one has a slightly easier time.
That's actually exactly what I was thinking. It was like, I was playing ball and I was like, wow, I can finally somewhat do something to her after she's been nerfed and I've been buffed.
And it's like, cool, that interaction works, and yet she has a higher pick and win right now.
And even then, the only reason I could do it was because the enemy Ana had their monitor turned off. Like,
like, yeah, she still has the same problems she had before. Like, she's still hard-ish to kill,
yeah,
and still just kills everyone instantly.
Yeah, I've always
She's still extremely pocketable, even more now actually, because she reaches the below half health threshold faster than other heroes.
I've always said Widowmaker is just way worse DPS Doomfist, because DPS Doomfist, you could fucking hear him coming. He had to get close to you. Quite honestly, he was just a CC sponge. You could do a billion different things to DPS Doomfist, but
there's a difference between them though. Like, while Doomfist was like, "Hey yo, CC check, no CC, okay, you die."
Widowmaker
is just like, "Oh, angle check, oh, you don't have a shield, goodbye."
Exactly. I mean, you could do way more about Doomfist. You could just pick anything that has even slight CC. Hell, a boop. Just Lucio completely fucks Doomfist. Still does.
Mm-hmm.
No, Widowmaker is... I still agree with Ian that Widowmaker is necessary, but...
I just want her to do something cool. At this point, I'm like, yeah, the one-shot exists. She's fucking annoying and busted. But if you're gonna have her be busted and super hard to kill and super annoying, at least to make her interesting.
Yeah, I can see that. I see that.
But, like, she's just a sniper.
No. But you can make a
people
sniper
from
interesting.
distance. But, like, that's not what she is. She is the pure and simple sniper.
But she's not even a sniper.
With his arrows.
Snipers are slow as shit. They're like, wait for a shot and do fuck tons of damage. She doesn't do that. She just barely.
If she said he's slower, she wouldn't function as a hero in Overwatch. Like, she's as close to being the sniper like image as one can be while still being an Overwatch hero, and that's the point.
Yeah, to be fair, I feel like the way that they should balance Widowmaker at this point is just to make it so that she can only fire at full charge once every, 4 seconds, but maybe reduce her hook cooldown by, 2. I feel like...
I just want her to be able to do something other than the one-shot, because,
I understand that.
The one-shot needs to be there, but she only does that. Everything else about her sucks. Her hook sucks. Her Venomine sucks. But her gun sucks.
But at the same time, I think it's almost sort of like Hog that way, where it's like, to the people who like that, that's fine. That's enough for them. And as long as she's not, super meta, it's annoying, but I mean, she's a necessary evil.
She's not super meta. Let's check the clock.
I know.
Oh god.
I mean,
she's always super meta.
Not to throw a grenade in this conversation, right?
Hi, Jazz, you're still here.
Not to throw a grenade in the conversation, but alright, if you want a Widow that does more than just shoot things, isn't that just Sojourn?
Yes.
Yeah, no, that was literally my
going?
perfect Widow rework.
Yeah, and how's that going, hon?
I mean, it was going alright, actually. I liked Sojourn. I was more fine getting insta-killed by Sojourn than Widow, because at least Sojourn had to play Overwatch before that one shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. Mm-hmm. That was kind of my take, too. It's like, she's annoying, but, at least she's, interactable.
She needs to shoot things before she can kill things.
Exactly.
Widow just kills you.
Yeah.
No prompts, nothing. You just die.
And there's nothing...
And it's like, okay, shouldn't have been there, I guess.
But that's fine. I understand shouldn't have been there. But the problem is, you can't get to her in the first place. If you can...
No, and she can get to you.
If you can touch the thing... If you have a way of touching the thing and or interacting with the thing that can one-shot you, at all, then, quite honestly, it's not that unfair. But when you have something like Widowmaker, where she's so far away that unless you have either a ball or a Widowmaker, you can't do anything about it. It's especially if they're pocketed. At which point, I mean, you know, ball eat your heart out. We have the best tank ever made, which I honestly do think that she's a better tank than any tank. Then you can't do anything. And I do say that she's a better tank than any tank because she controls space so unbelievably well through pure threat. And I mean, she's a better, more problematic Roadhog. She is.
Yes.
She
somehow has more effective health than Roadhog.
She has more effective health than Roadhog, and there's nothing you can do. Roadhog, you could just fucking stun, or you could boop.
The only difference being is that Widow can get one shot, which at that point you're solving the problem with the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean,
I just hate characters that counter themselves. That's that too.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, okay, well, how do I counter this character? All right, play the same character. Just have a mirror match. Just do the same fucking thing every single game.
To be fair, I think there are two characters, ironically the two that I've played, that I think were fine in that sense, which was Bastion, because it was like, okay, you started shooting first, I guess, whatever. And then...
Bastion doesn't counter himself at all.
Well, he did. Back in the day, he did. And then you had Doomfist, DPS Doomfist, where it was like, if you can catch the other Doomfist, it was a very dynamic thing. Like, if you could catch the other Doomfist with a punch, he probably died, unless he had his cooldown. It was a very complex interaction most of the time, unless you just...
Okay, Astro. That's one of those matchups, like the Reinhardt Hammer matchup, right?
Yeah.
It's a skill matchup, right? But
Yeah.
it's more than that. It's not like, oh, they did one thing wrong, they instantly...
Yeah.
No, it's not like that. Because you have to think hard. You have to consider your options.
Yeah.
With Widow, it's like, oh, who shot faster wins.
Yeah, I know. Like when I would play Doomfist, the way I would deal with the other Doomfist is that I would wait until inevitably they would have to touch the ground, and then I would just punch them into a wall.
But Doomfist is not the best counter to Doomfist.
No, he wasn't. Not by far.
Never was.
No, not by far he wasn't.
The best counter to Widow is Widow.
Is Widow. Yeah, I know.
In some matchups, the only counter to Widow is Widow.
I know. Especially if they have a Mercy or something.
Yes, and at that point, even Widow is a bad counter to Widow.
I know.
At which point, oh shit, there's no options left.
And have you ever dealt with a Widowmaker with a Kiriko on her ass?
Have you ever dealt with Widow with a Kiriko, a Hog, a Mercy, and a Hanzo on her ass?
Like, it's unbelievable. It's something to behold.
Somehow stuffed right up her ass.
It's something to behold. It's like because even at that point you can't even displace her because she's Suzu'd. It's like, oh my god, please end me. And I'm playing Sigma.
Ah, yes, I'll just pile drive the Widow. Gets Suzu'd, and you're like, okay, I'll just shoot her in the head. Gets like
healed.
Mercy
healed.
Like, okay, well I can't kill her. At least I've displaced her a little bit.
Her.
I've disgruntled her about slightly.
And that's
I'll just roll away, and then she gets damage boosted and still kills you.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just, yeah. I do think the solution for Widowmaker is just to make it so that she one shots way less frequently. I think
there's a few ways of doing that.
And I think she should have 150 health. I know people are gonna say, but Ashe could just one shot her, and it's like.
Yeah, I mean that's what she does to the rest of the cast. Why not?
If you're playing that fucking close to an Ashe's Widowmaker, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that.
Oh, that too, actually.
Like, if you're within Ashe one shot range, like Ashe's like full damage, fall off range.
Actually, no. The range actually gets a lot bigger when she has a Mercy with her.
No, I know, but I mean,
you can snipe people from like. Really far. You can snipe tracers from really far.
I know, but that's with a pocket. I consider that a slightly different situation. I feel that when a hero is pocketed, they should be like way harder to deal with. Which is as much as I hate it, I think that should be the case. I feel like if you're going to play Widowmaker, you need to play Widowmaker in a way where you need to be a lot more careful about what's around you, right? Like an Ashe. Like, if she has 150 health and there's an Ashe around, you just need to be way more careful. You can't just ignore everything like they tend to do nowadays, where it's just like, haha, I'm on the other side of the map, you can't do fucking anything. It's like, you know, if they have a damage boosted Ashe, suddenly the Widowmaker has to actually make choices.
Suddenly she has the ability to be threatened out
Yes,
by
exactly.
a character that is different than her.
Exactly.
Wow, crazy.
And I understand why they're hesitant to do 150. I get it, because she's stationary. But
Yes.
she's
Again,
largely stationary.
it's a character that's like, if they get Dove, they should die.
Yes.
And they don't currently.
Exactly. I feel like the only way she shouldn't die if she gets Dove is if she has really good positioning and really good hook usage. It's
Also, another character I want to bring up, because with the loss of Hog, this character has actually seen more play.
Yeah.
There's two characters, actually. The first being Cass, which has seen a lot more play as being the mobility stopper, and he's basically at 100% playtime now.
Mm-hmm.
And the other being Hanzo. Because he is a one-shot that is about as consistent as the Hog one-shot nowadays.
So, here's my take with Cassidy. My take with Cassidy is that he should be 200 health. I strongly feel he should be 200 health.
I don't think he's a problem at all, actually. I think he's dog shit.
I don't think he's amazing, but I do feel like he should still be 200 health because he has a tendency to just not get punished for just asinine stuff.
Well, that's also because he has a damage resist on his roll.
He does?
Which yes, his roll gives him during the roll, and I think for like 0.2 seconds after the roll, he gets 40% damage resistance, just like during his ultimate.
Let me look this up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he gets damage resistance during his roll, which is why he can survive Tracer Pulse Bombs.
Well, I had no idea. Let me look at this. Cassidy. Roll. Damage reduction, 50%! What the hell? Holy shit!
That's what's keeping him alive a lot.
Okay, that's fair, actually. Yeah, I would say that's more the problem then.
Like, you don't think it's gonna come up, but you know, when example that I know a lot, if you jump at a Cass as Lucio, you can do his health and damage easily.
Yeah.
But if he rolls and he takes 3 hits, suddenly you can't kill him.
No, I get it, yeah. I mean, granted, I still just have a fundamental issue with the 25 intervals, because I feel like they're almost gaming breakpoints too much. But yeah. As for his grenade, I know people complain about the mag grenade, but I feel like
I think the mag grenade is more of a necessary evil. You know, if they want to remove the stun,
the stun, they have to.
There's gonna have to be another way
to deal with mobility. I think what they need to do with the mag grenade is simply just extend the fuse. That's it.
I think the opposite. I think it needs to explode faster so people don't think about it being like, oh, why is it on me?
You know,
don't give people the time to think that it's broken.
Okay, that's a good point. No, actually, yeah. Now that you say that, I agree with that, because as at least me, I find the feeling of, oh god, there's no way I'm surviving this, a lot more frustrating than I just died.
Yeah.
It's way more frustrating because it's like I can't do anything. When I just die, it's like, well,
maybe this sounds biased, but please just make it 120 or 125. 131 is so frustrating.
Yeah, that's yeah, I agree with that. But why is it 131? What's the point of that?
So the stick does 1, and the explosion does 130.
Oh, all right. I don't know why they don't just do 5 like they did with the.
Well, because at 135 there was a breakpoint with certain characters.
Then why not just 130? Like 131?
Well, because
just have the
they wanted the explosion to be 130 exactly, but they couldn't make the grenade not do damage. I think.
Why not just like 125 explosion, 5 stick? Why is that a problem?
Answer that, Goodman. That was one of those things you still worked on.
But I don't know. I feel like Cassidy is not that big of a problem. he's annoying, but I mean, most of the cast is annoying. That's just the nature
I
of
was
a
surprised
PvP
to
game.
find out he was good at all, because, I mean, again, I haven't played comp in ages, because it's dog shit.
Yeah, neither have I. I haven't played yet this season. But, yeah. It's, I don't know. Are there any other characters with that sort of problem that you've thought of, Ian, Jazz?
No.
Not really.
No?
No, I'd like to be honest. The only issues with one shots that I think when we sit down and talk about one shots, especially in Overwatch 2, I think a lot of people are kind of missing the fact that I think the reason why one shots they feel more problematic than before is simply because there's less defensive opportunities or abilities now in Overwatch 2.
If a player is dominating, they're going to keep dominating. There's not much to stop them in this game. And one-shots make the easiest dominating tool.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. It's I feel like that's a problem beyond one-shots.
That's not just a problem. Here's the thing. That can't be just solved by, isn't just a problem with the heroes, but also environments as well. Just straight up. There's just no real coverage. Because all the older maps had, tanks like Reinhardt in mind. Because a lot more tanks at that age had more shields. It was more prominent. And now we have less shields. We have less tanks. So now it comes the rise of the snipers and the one-shots and et cetera, et cetera. Which is why I don't really... It's the reason why I'm kind of like... I don't necessarily disagree with maybe taking away tanks' opportunities to one-shot and instead replacing it with CC opportunity. It's the reason why I was so confused with Doomfist's change of why did you remove his one-shot ability and his CC? That's the whole point of you putting him into tank is because the CC was too much of a problem for him to just be a normal everyday damage hero. So I suppose that's kind of my only thoughts on it. And to be honest, that's just more of a Blizzard yet again made a huge change without considering a lot of the nuances about their actual game, let alone the balance.
Right.
No,
it makes sense.
But that's just
such a thing. Doomfist is so fucking interesting to look at. Because it's they took the character, the CC character, the character that CCs people to death, and they're like, okay, this should probably be a tank hero. And then they took the, CC people didn't like the Doomfist, the punch, and they're like, let's turn this into from a kill option into just purely CC. The part that people didn't like.
Yeah.
And then remove all the other interesting movement abilities.
Essentially. Yeah, they've mismanaged tanks to such an extraordinary degree. It's unbelievable.
But yeah, I suppose that's the reason why because in my brain, it makes sense for supports to support, tanks to make space with the team, i.e. with CC, and then for damage heroes to obviously zone and kill. So I suppose in that retrospect, it doesn't pop up in my brain too much, but I think that's the reason why damage in particular feels so oppressive, is because there are very few defensive opportunities built into the actual game itself, let alone the balance.
I think more defensive things are needed in this game. And not necessarily super busted ones, just options.
I mean, shoot, they just need to put in more columns, and I think
there just need to be options.
Shoot. There you go. I feel like half the issues that we have... The
biggest balance change to Overwatch 2 could be, it's just we added more crates.
Yeah, really could be.
Yeah.
It really could be.
There's no reason you need to, explain a crate being in a map,
And then at that point...
If Horizon had just random fucking banana crates in there, I'd be fine with that.
And then at that point, the one-shot characters could do what they do, the healing characters could do what they do, the CC characters could do what they do, and it'd be less of a problem because, there's more options.
But what they have to watch out with placing cover, right, is because we see the old maps, right? They added cover to those maps. All of the cover sucks.
And it enables Widowmaker mostly.
Because it's offensive cover.
Yeah. Not defensive.
It's not cover that you use to like
Avoid.
take a path. It's not pathing cover. It's offensive shooting cover.
Yeah. Which is the... Not...
Which, what's the only character that takes good use of the... Oh, that's right!
The
It's
French
Widowmaker.
woman.
Ah, yes. The exact thing they wanted to eliminate with adding offensive cover is the only character that can use it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's usually in such shit spots as well. God.
Alright.
And so poorly clipped.
Yes.
Man, some of those
Oh god,
cards
they're
are
really poorly clipped.
Lucio just does not work on them.
The geometry is so fucked.
Wizards trying to make the map manageable for Lucio challenge impossible.
Okay, so I feel like there are maybe 3 more things that we should touch on. Okay, maybe there's one of them that we should leave for its own episode because it's kind of a monster of a topic. But
What topic?
the thing that I was talking about, why I think that we need a classic game mode.
No, I don't remember this at all. When did we talk about this?
I've been
I
talking
remember
about
you
it
mentioning it at some point.
in the text chat a bunch. Yeah.
Oh, the one I don't read. If there's like above 100 messages. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think we need to have that has to have its at least part of its own episode, not like a footnote. Okay, so the other things I think on the list are the new skins, and I do briefly want to talk about Ramatra.
Talk about
the changes to Ramatra, and like what has happened as a result of that.
Well, that
Well, we
seems
might
to
as
be
well
a
start off
very...
with...
Yeah, talk about RAM now, because we're already talking about balance.
Yeah, that's what I think we should do.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
Floor is yours.
okay, so I understand why they thought to themselves that that there was a problem with the infinite duration, and I only sort of agree, because on one hand, I understand why it could be frustrating to have in overtime just this tank who stands on the point and doesn't die, and you can't get near him or else you die. But on the other hand, I think even if they didn't make it infinite, I feel like they should have made it longer than 20 seconds, because it's at this point the value that you get out of the ultimate, it takes a while for it to get value. That's just the case. Like it's not an it's
that was already the case before.
Yeah.
Right? The value of Annihilation is not the fact that you have this big fucking aura around you. It's ironically the fact that you get to stay in Nemesis mode for a long time.
Yes.
While also having an aura around you, but the aura is just kind of there as a visual to guide the player towards enemies to stay in the infinite duration.
I honestly feel like they shouldn't have made it definite, like the duration definite. Because I feel like, one, that defeats the purpose a little bit, and two, I feel like that was sort of, at least for me, that was like this is the reason I play this character. But it was also sort of the one thing that made the ult usually worth it, is that it was almost sort of a guarantee, like, this is going to be really nasty for the enemy. Because if it's just 20 seconds at most, at least in the games I've been playing, the enemy Ramatra ults, and like, as long as it's not a very specific overtime situation, or hell, it could even be a very specific overtime situation, the enemy team could just have competent heals, it doesn't do anything. Because the problem is that it's unless they want to up the damage on it, which I don't think they want to do, and I wouldn't want them to do that.
No, I can see them doing that to compensate.
I don't think they should, though. I think
From
that
30 HPS to 40 HPS, probably.
maybe,
Because,
but
I mean, that would make the name Annihilation a lot more fitting, because it's currently not annihilating many people. It's a value over time kind of thing.
it's not, I guess. But it's... I think there was a certain value to the fact that it was indefinite, because it meant that it was just sort of, one, it was super fun. Two, it meant for, you could get goofy shit like the infinite staring contests, which I loved.
Have we had like a check of like the longest Ramatra ult? Because I think the longest I've seen is 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
The longest I ever got was around 45.
Oh, I know mine. My longest has been longer than that. I think my longest is close to a minute or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen 2 minutes. I think actually, maybe even 3 minutes. I've seen. That's a long time to stay in an ultimate.
Yeah, I feel like the better solution for that ultimate would have been to reduce the range on it, because the problem that you ran into was that, one, it was infinite, and two, it
didn't close the entire capture points.
Yeah, I feel like if they reduced it to 15 meters instead of 20, I feel like that would have helped a lot, because keep in mind he's faster now when he's in that form, and
he's gonna always have someone within the range.
Yeah, and so I feel like because I remember Ian talking about this when we first saw Ramatra. The point of annihilation is that you can't stay near him. That's what it does. It means that you can't be near him. You either get out of the way or you kill him. You can't stay there. And I think what they should have done is they should have reduced the range. Heck, they could have done less than 15. They could have done 12.
No, 12 is really short. That's Lucio's current aura.
But still, I feel like the issue was the range on it because of how fast he is now. Because I keenly remember before they buffed his speed in Nemesis form, it didn't really seem to be an issue, the fact that it was infinite duration. Because...
No, because that's because people could just walk away.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think the issue is the range. And I understand the crazy clips of, two Ramatras standing on the point, punching each other indefinitely.
No, they're not even punching each other. They're blocking.
They're staring at each other. The staring contest, which I love. It was great. But at the same time, unless the two teams are looking at it and they're like, "This is funny, we shouldn't disrupt it," it's not hard to deal with, honestly, because it's at least in my experience, when you had two Ramatras that were just fighting each other on the point, you just all focused on the enemy Ramatra, and it was like,
you see, that works in quick play, but when Ramatra gets fully fucking turbo damage, like everything boosted.
Oh, I know.
He's unkillable. He is simply unkillable. He has the highest health pool in the game. Oh, no, actually, he doesn't weirdly have the highest health pool in the game, but he has the highest effective health. He has the most armor plus health.
Yes.
And he just didn't die, because he has armor
and the block.
And he has the block.
And
a character with damage resistance and armor is unkillable. We know Orisa is unkillable, right?
Yes.
We all agree that Orisa is super hard to kill because of the armor and the damage resist.
Yes. I feel like what they could have done is, I feel like they could have just reduced the range, and maybe, I don't know. The problem here is that I've seen the argument that he's too durable in Nemesis now. I don't really agree with that, because he's still Ramatra, but he still tends to hit like a wet noodle. But it's I feel like a solution that they could have done here is, I feel like they could have made Nemesis form a little less tanky. They could have reduced the range on the ultimate, and they could have slightly upped the damage on the pummel, and I think it would have been enough.
I mean, he's currently still good, so I don't think they're gonna have to change him.
He's still good, but he's still causing the problem of, one, he's not getting really much value out of the ultimate.
No, he is, but he usually just doesn't finish a fight with it anymore, which, yeah, I guess that's fine. I mean, before, like, before the changes, what he would do is he would keep it to overtime at least, because then it would last indefinitely until the game was over.
Yes, and that's part of why I think they should have reduced the range, because there needs to be space on a point where he can't reach with it, because the enemy needs to be able to contest.
Yes, but they did the other way to do it, and that's like have the ultimate last infinitely, but still a really long time.
And I feel like if they were,
they can probably have it last a little longer.
I think if they were going to give it a definite duration, it should have been something like 30 seconds, because right now they say like 20 seconds is an immense amount of time, and I mean it is, but in Overwatch, it's a lot of time, but it's not a lot of time when you're doing 30 damage per second.
But it's never about the 30 damage per second. It was never about the 30 damage per second. That never mattered at any point in the game.
What is it about then?
It's about the fact that you can stay in Nemesis form for an indefinite amount of time. That's the real value of Annihilation to me. Because it's like, you have this character that is massive, can't die, goes through shields, and is faster.
Yes.
And he effectively nullifies the support passive with the damage over time.
With the punch, I get it, yeah.
No, without the punches, with the damage over time around him.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I feel like another thing they could have done was no, that wouldn't have made sense. I was gonna say they could have made it so that there was a limit on the Nemesis form, but not the ult. But that would be weird. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the direction they're going with Ramatra is not the one that I think would have stayed the most true to their vision for the hero, and I don't think it's the one that is the most effective at dealing with the issues that he presented. But that's also just sort of what the Overwatch dev team does, I suppose. I don't know. There's still the issue of there being very little reason to get super close to anyone in Nemesis form, and therefore he can be just a little too difficult to kill, ironically. I still do think there should be some sort of reward for the actual physical fist hitting people. And we still have the whole issue of Vortex, which is, again, cosmetic, basically. So
I feel like it's the way it is because they have experienced a far too powerful version of Ramatra's Vortex.
And I honestly think
the devs, of course.
I think if they just made it really tall, they could have it do no damage at all. They just make it really tall, and they make it pull down super fast, and that's fine. That's a good ability. It slows people down a little bit. It pulls people down. They could even reduce like the amount of speed reduction it gives, as long as it does what it's actually meant to do, which is pull people down. I feel like we have a good ability. Because I feel like right now they're trying to make it do too many things, and therefore it can't do the thing it was actually meant to do. If you get what I mean.
Yeah, well, it doesn't pull people to the floor effectively enough.
No, and that was the point.
Was that the point, though? I mean, that was the point they advertised to us, but was that the point of the ability at the start?
I mean, I feel like unless they're even worse at advertising than we realize, I feel like the way they should advertise an ability is the way it was designed to be used.
I feel like they didn't even really advertise it as like a grounding ability. They just showed that's what it did, and people were like, "Oh, that's what the ability is. It's a grounding ability." But like Blizzard never really like said that was the point. They just said it could do that.
I guess so.
And people just sort of deduced, "Oh, that's why this ability exists." But then we were just wrong.
But that's the problem, right? It's like, if it's not grounding, what is particularly unique about it?
Well, that's the thing.
Well, actually, no, there is something unique about it.
There is nothing unique about it.
It's a relatively like controllable slow, which is the only unique part about it, because there's no other really controllable slow in the game currently.
And
in the beta there was Doomfist.
And that's why I think it would be much better if it just didn't do damage, or did 5 damage a second like Maze Blizzard used to.
Wait, Blizzard used to do 5 per second?
Yes.
Ramatra's shit does less than that.
What? Yeah. No, no, Ramatra's Vortex right now does 15.
But no way. Hold
Yeah,
on.
it does 15. It's,
Oh, but it only lasts like 2 seconds.
But it only lasts 2 seconds. And that's why I think the duration is fine. It just needs to, like, make that period where it's up much more meaningful by pulling things down. And, you know, I wouldn't increase the slow. I wouldn't, like, make the slow any slower, but maybe slightly increase the size of it, maybe. I don't know. It's because right now it's just not very good. It's just sort
currently
of...
the only thing I want about it is even for the radius to be increased by a meter. Not much more than that,
Yeah.
even. Because if it gets any bigger, it would get annoying.
Yeah. But right now it's just kind of inconvenient. I die to it very rarely. So it's...
Well, I mean, you're not supposed to die to it. You're supposed to die as, like...
as a result of it.
A result of it having been used earlier in the fight.
No, I get it. And that's what I mean when I say die to it.
I've effectively died because it was used, but I've never felt like I died because he used it.
Yeah. And... I mean, I guess that's okay, but at the same time, it's like...
Like, it causes kills.
It causes kills.
But they're like 30 seconds later.
But yeah, exactly. It's such a weird ability. I don't know. I have my ideas...
It's not even a bad ability, either.
I wouldn't say it's great.
Like, actually, though, like it's a decently good ability. It has its use cases, and you just throw it out. It gets a little bit of value. It like prevents someone from walking somewhere as fast. It's odd value that you only notice as someone not playing Ramatra.
I guess so. I don't know. It still very much feels like a cosmetic ability. It feels very tacked on. Especially since the whole idea was that it was meant to slow people down for Ramatra to get close with whatchamacallit, Nemesis form, but now he's fast anyways.
How people got to that conclusion specifically? Did the devs say that was the point of it?
They did, actually.
Yeah, how they got to that is major cope. At that point, I think that the ability was kind of like how it was in Battle for Olympus, where it slowed and centered people.
That would be much better, I feel. Yeah.
I feel like if the ability was like that, then maybe it would have like you can get close while they're in there.
I remember us playing Battle for Olympus, and we were like, wow, this is actually a better balanced state for Ramatra.
We were like, holy shit, it's busted.
It's like actually it's Ramatra, but like it's not. It's only
if
busted.
He had that during Nemesis for him, people would shit themselves.
It's like, honestly, I feel like that was a more balanced version of Ramatra, because it almost sort of did like what Ramatra seems to have been designed to do, which I don't really feel like he does what he's designed to do. He just does things. They're not necessarily like not valuable things, but he just does things. It's like
he doesn't really seem to be designed with a goal.
No, he's just sort of weird, which is
fine. He does do things.
He does do things.
There are situations where you play him at every rank in the game, but even pro players, I feel like, haven't fully figured out
don't really know
why they're playing.
Yeah, they don't really know why he exists. They probably understand why he exists for like character reasons. I'm sure most Overwatch pros have, at least heard of the cutscenes.
I'm not convinced.
Really?
Not. Well, I mean, I know that most of the English ones have at one point. They know, but they don't care.
Exactly. I'm
willing to bet there's a significant number of pro players who don't even know that the monkey character is named Winston.
Monkey.
I'm not saying
Winston Overwatch.
I'm not saying they care about the lore. I'm just saying like I'm pretty sure that most pro Overwatch players realize that Ramatra was a character that was going to happen. I just think they look at the character and they're like, okay, so why was this kit designed? I think that's the thing. And I still fucking hate the nanites in his base form, because I just can't see where they're fucking going. That still bothers me. But
I like them. I can't see where they're fucking going.
I just wish they glowed a little bit. Even just client side. I wish they glow. They don't have to glow like server side.
They glow more on higher settings, if that makes you feel any better.
I can't play on higher settings. I I run the Scuffed Mobile.
You run the Crustmobile, I know.
The Crustmobile, yeah. It's my $1,000 desktop that is worth like $200.
No, that was worth $200 when you bought it.
Oh god.
It's currently worth like what, like $100 maybe.
Oh my
$3.
But yeah, Ramatra's weird. I'll be curious to see where they go with him. The two things I really do feel strongly about really at all are just the fists and the ultimate duration. Those are the two things I really feel strongly about. The vortex is just kind of like, I wish it was like this. It's just sort of weird. It doesn't function really, but yeah.
It does things and like it causes good results,
but it doesn't.
But it doesn't feel powerful.
And it doesn't do what like it was apparently designed or advertised to do, which is frustrating. But
it's really bad at the thing it's supposed to do, or you think it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it does occasionally catch someone off. And when that happens, it does just fucking murder them.
Here's a question, though. Here's a question. What would be the problem with making it much taller? You don't make it wider, just taller. What would the issue with that be? Because I honestly don't really see one. It just seems like, I don't know. You could make it like 40 meters tall, and then it fucks shit up.
It would become visually confusing.
Maybe, but
that is the only reason I can think of. That the visual would be too tall and too cluttering.
I mean, honestly, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
But that is the only reason I can think of. I mean, they could have just made a sigil on the floor that pulled people into it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a fucking weird ability. I think we'll save the Overwatch Classic for another discussion.
But the skins and the battle pass.
Yeah, we need to talk about the skins. Alright, Jazz, this is the part where you can talk. You actually have stuff to talk about.
Yay!
So the skins.
Honestly, this season, they did really good.
Yeah, I like most of the skins.
They kind of popped off this season. I'm not gonna lie.
I finally have a Sigma skin that I like more than his Overwatch 1 default, which is nice.
You got 2 Sigma skins this time around. You got a Beekeeper and a Galaxy one.
Yeah, like...
Well, but he's not gonna get the Beekeeper one. That directly costs $30.
No, I just don't I just don't like the vibe of it. I don't like the aesthetic. But finally, I have a Sigma skin that I like more than the Overwatch 1 default skin, so that's really good. That was always so awkward. I was like, a new Sigma skin would always come out, and I'd be like, this isn't better than his default skin. Like, I just like the default skin more. Yeah, I'm happy about that. The One Punch Doomfist, I think, is hilariously ironic.
Because he don't do any damage with the punch?
Because the punch does nothing. It is not a 1 punch. It is a 7 punch, maybe.
That is also something that I'm so confused they never did. Is made the punch do damage. They were like, okay, guys, we're going to make him a punch bot that just stuns the entire enemy team every 3 seconds. But no. Damage? Crazy.
We could talk about that another time. I'll make it very brief what my take is, which is that it should only hit one person, and the stun shouldn't scale. It's the damage that should scale with the charge.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's a discussion for a different time.
It should do more damage and less stunning.
And the peak should just be what its old damage was. But
250?
250, yeah. I like the
fully
Saitama.
Charged empowered punch into a wall.
I like
That's probably fair.
I like the Saitama skin. I don't really have a problem with the crossover. I think it's fine. I think it's a very fitting one. I'm just sort of like whatever. Again, I am concerned that things will just suddenly become, like Ian said, just crossover hell. granted, I think the one caveat to that is that it's not like Fortnite where they're literally adding like Rick to the game, where Ariana Grande is a playable character. It's just a skin that resembles that character.
Okay, but that's the thing with Fortnite, right? After that, after the season, after the event where they get introduced, usually they're just a skin.
What do you mean?
So, for instance, when Thanos Fortnite came out, right?
Yep.
There was an Infinity Gauntlet. There were stones. You could snap people out of existence.
Mm-hmm.
But it was an item you had to find
Okay.
in the map.
Right.
And after that season, it's just Thanos. It's just Thanos as a skin.
I mean, that's fine, but again, I feel like at least to me, what matters more about a character's identity is how they play, and a skin doesn't change that. So, that's why I have less of an issue with it, but I do agree with Ian that it's not something they should go crazy with.
Also, when we think of characters that could even work for a crossover, what other characters could even work?
You could do Magneto Sigma.
I suppose. But now let's think of like non-Marvel characters.
That's hard.
I guess that is a little harder.
Because I know Marvel characters would work quite well for quite a few of the cast. I mean, Thanos, Doomfist,
Genji with like a Star Wars skin. That would be cool.
Stormtrooper Genji.
That's still Disney.
Yeah.
It's still Disney.
Oh.
Non-Disney. Okay, that's really
Yeah.
hard mode.
Oh, that's really
okay.
tough.
So Disney is banned.
I know one.
An anime, I feel like.
I know one, but this is unfortunately Nintendo.
Okay.
You could do Samus Farah.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Or like May
Or
as
Samus
like,
Diva could
Mario.
work as well.
May as Mario.
May as Mario.
The hell?
Yeah.
May as Mario.
I feel like
Yeah.
Baptiste as Mario would make more sense.
No, I don't
Bap
think
Mario.
so because she.
Bap
she
Mario,
has, she
he's
has-
Jumpman. That's why.
Yeah, he literally has the Jumpman spray.
Yeah, but like she have like the plumber vibe.
She does?
May
Yeah.
as plumber vibe?
What?
Oh, whatever. All right.
What sort of
does.
plumbers
May
do you
has a
have in
plumber
Ireland? Like,
Okay, whatever. You guys are fucking haters, all right?
We're not haters. It has.
I just don't
We
see
just
it.
don't get it.
Please explain. I'm curious.
I literally don't talk for like 30 minutes, and it's like, shut up, Jasmine. You're. You idiot."
No, I'm just
Well, Jasmine,
trying to
go on,
understand
yeah.
the connection.
Yeah,
We're not being aggressive. We're just confused.
confused.
Please
Also,
explain
like,
the
you could do,
plumber
like, a
vibe.
really cool. You could do a cool like vampire Sigma as well.
You could.
That would be fun. Warcraft kind of. What are they called? Oh, those undead people who aren't actually vampires, but they're pretty much vampires.
Huh?
Can't remember off
From
the
what
top
game?
of my. Warcraft. World
I
of
don't-
Warcraft.
Know anything
I have no
Warcraft.
idea about World of Warcraft.
No.
Or making Brigitte an orc. That also works.
That would be funny.
That'd be funny.
Brigitte.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know. We could do, if we're talking IPs, I guess we could try, as much as I would hate it, we could do Master Chief Soldier 76. I would groan.
I thought for sure that would be the first like crossover thing we see.
I would fucking groan, and I would cringe every time I see it in the game, but I could see it happening.
Master Chief Soldier. Yeah, that might happen.
I would just puke every
Okay.
time, because I know they would go with the Halo Infinite armor, which would make me nauseous.
So here's a question for all of you guys.
Yeah.
Anything like the idea of crossover is running this fine line of like cringe inherently,
I
correct?
suppose, yes.
Yeah.
But like the One Punch Man crossover, at least from what we've seen of it thus far, doesn't seem cringe, right?
No, it's not.
Then again, they also took a very light direction with it because
Yeah,
it's just Doomfist cosplaying Saitama.
Yeah.
Well, there's gonna be other skins, evidently.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's already the Soldier 76 one.
Do we know that's coming?
Yeah, they
Yeah.
showed off the picture of
Showed
it
it.
of Moomin Rider, however you say
Oh,
his
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah. Oh,
But it's
right.
just a recolored bug hero.
With, like a different head. To fit
Yeah,
the-
it's just that, but with the regular soldier head.
Huh.
Pretty
No,
much.
it's got like the helmet on.
Oh, it does. Oh, okay.
So like why what is it about like One Punch Man that it's like, okay, that just works? Because like I feel like if they had like a Marvel crossover type thing, I'd be like, ugh, and maybe that's just because of me and my impression
Now,
of Disney.
Ian, the only Marvel crossover I'd be fine with is Thanos Doomfist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe Iron Man Farah, but no one would care.
Yeah. Probably not.
Yeah, I guess there's some that would be neat. I guess it's just my overall impression of like Marvel at this point, where it's like, stay away from my Overwatch.
Stay away, please.
I-
Whereas when it comes to like an anime IP, I'm like more welcoming. So it's like, all right, like I don't really like watch anime, but like I can appreciate it, you know.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe the reason why you're cool with it is because Doomfist has already had a One Punch Man like reference before.
Yeah.
With the spray that he had, the OK spray.
Yes.
Well, not to mention like half of his voice lines.
And half of
One
his
punch
voice
is
line.
all I need. He's had
I
that
guess
since the
it'll
beginning.
really come down to like the other skins, assuming there are more than just the soldier one
Yeah.
as like extras. Like, depending on what those are, I guess that'll be like the real test of this IP crossover.
One Punch Man has a lot of interesting and cool characters, so I'm sure they'll find some. Oh, actually, I think I already know. It's probably going to be Gino Genji.
Yeah, that seems like
I
an
will-
obvious one.
I can't remember.
Or is his
the
name
na-
Genos? I forget. Hold up.
I can't remember the protagonist's name. Her name escapes me. But do you know the girl character from Portal?
Shell.
Yeah.
Shell?
Shell, thank you. Shell as Symmetra.
I was thinking about that the other
Oh,
day.
that would work,
You know-
actually.
That has to be it.
You know
That
what?
has to be the next
You know
one.
what I only realized yesterday?
Hmm?
Moira has a skin that's a reference to Portal.
The scientist?
Skin?
No, sorry, a line. Sorry, my bad. A line.
Oh.
She has a
Oh,
cosmetic
okay.
line that's I believe is a reference to Portal.
Moira. Which Moira line?
She says, "This is a triumph."
Oh yeah, 100% that
Yeah.
is. Symmetra has one as well. She has a cake is a lie voice line,
Yeah.
doesn't she? I think if they did a okay, first of all, I'll just say I would love if there was a Valve crossover of any type.
I know you
Left
would.
4
Oh.
Dead, Half-Life, Portal, any of that.
I
That'd be awesome.
can't wait for Engineer Gaming to enter the game.
But like, in terms of like the like Symmetra being Chell, I feel like they could just do like an Aperture Science test subject skin,
Yeah.
without having to make her deliberately Chell, because like that has its own aesthetic
Right.
to it. And, like they could just do that, and everyone would get it because of the portals. Like I think I would like it if they did something like that, as opposed to making her like a specific character from the game, especially since Chell is mute, doesn't
Right.
ever speak. It's sort of like a weird one in that regard.
I have
You never
one.
really see her even, basically.
I have one.
Well, it would just be Symmetra cosplaying Shell,
Yeah.
you know, like the Doomfist skin.
I have.
Yeah, but like even that, I feel like they'd be better off just making it like, oh, Aperture Science test subject, and like maybe they could call it Chell, but like I feel like if they just leaned more into the general like aesthetics of it,
Right.
that would suit it better.
Mm-hmm.
I have a crossover skin that I think would not only make me pass out, but I know would make Jazz pass out.
What?
Ready for this one?
What?
Junker Queen Hunter.
Yes! Specifically Eileen! Oh my gosh, she'd look so cool!
No, like even if it's just like the default Bloodborne Hunter, she has the gun, she has the axe, like
Ooh.
just the blunderbuss,
Ooh.
just the
You see,
blunderbuss
the thing
skin.
is- The thing is, that would probably... I don't think that would suit her silhouette, though, is the only thing.
I mean,
I don't
I mean, you
think
can be creative with the silhouette.
yeah, you can be creative with the silhouette. I mean,
Oh, do you know who would rock it, though?
who?
Who would genuinely... Reaper. He would also rock it as
Yeah,
well.
he would.
He would. And it would suit his silhouette.
I can't wait to see Soul of Cinder Reinhardt.
Yeah.
Dark
Uh,
Souls Reinhardt.
Okay, listen. I know that it wouldn't make the most sense for the character, but like, can we please get Godric Ramatra? Like, can you, like, even
No, actually, in terms of shape, you can make the nemesis form be a
would be
little bit
Godric?
like-
Yes. Like, and it's literally the same fucking voice actor, so it would
Yeah.
work. Just
That'd be funny as shit. He would just have to repeat lines.
Yeah, like when he ults, he just yells, "Bear witness!" It's just perfect.
Ooh, do you know another perfect one?
What?
You know an Evangelion skin for Diva?
Yes.
That would work.
That would work.
That would work.
That would just be Diva again.
Yeah, that's why it works.
Getting the
another
next Shinji.
A spicy one would be some sort of like League of Legends crossover as well. I
Yeah.
feel like that would be so. Ooh.
That's almost inevitable, I suppose.
Oh,
honestly.
Jesus, dear God, Oh no, they're gonna fucking make Ari Kiriko.
I almost feel like that's somewhat inevitable eventually. If I'm gonna be honest.
I kind of feel like.
Yo, wait, actually, there's a never mind. Actually, here's a crossover some people, believe it or not, want. People want Hatsune Miku and Lucio to crossover.
No, please.
God.
I beg. Keep it away.
The two worst fans have one great idea.
Oh god. Here's a Jazz, you can tell me what you think of this, because I think it would be funny and also really weird. Genji Geralt.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. Especially because he's all like fucked up and like scarred and stuff.
Yes.
That would be actually really great.
Just, have you ever wanted to see Geralt jump around and fly? Because he sure as hell can't do it in The Witcher 3, so...
Oh, that would be
falls
great.
5 feet and you die. So it's... Oh god, that'd be hilarious.
Hanzo Geralt.
Hanzo Geralt.
Imagine if there was like a Pokemon one as well. That would be another fun one.
Oh,
I don't know who though.
Ash!
I don't know
Ash!
who.
Ash! Ash!
So here's something.
Ash is a Pokemon trainer. Bob could be a Pokemon. He could be like a... I don't know.
Like a Blastoise or something.
He could be like a Blastoise, yeah.
Oh, don't
Robin would also work.
No. Actually, no. I know exactly the Pokemon Bob would be.
What?
Beware.
But Beware doesn't have guns.
Just have it be Bob. But
Also, what the hell is a Beware?
It's a Pokemon.
I'll post Beware.
You're gonna come into the issue of people like me who know what Pokemon is, but doesn't know anything from the past like decade worth of it.
Alright, so I guess it probably would have to be a Gen 1 Pokemon.
Okay, so this
wouldn't it?
thing canonically has manhandled every single creature alive in the anime.
Oh, I've seen this thing before.
Yeah, it's the terror. I don't know. I feel like Ash as a Pokemon trainer would be perfect.
Well, I mean, oh yeah, Ash
I
is
also
Pokemon
think,
trainer.
I want to nominate Hammond Wrecking Ball as the Pokemon as well.
There's a Pokeball with Pikachu in it. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah, I mean that one would be really fitting.
Mm-hmm.
Going
Just
back
like
to the
slightly evil one.
Go ahead, Ian.
I'm just trying to think of like
Lucio fits the shape of Lucario, unfortunately.
Ooh,
okay.
ooh.
Well, speaking of Lucio, going back to the Hatsune Miku, rather than making him like literally Hatsune Miku, what if they just gave him a skin where all his voice lines were like Vocaloided versions
God.
of just
Okay,
his quotes?
there is a skin in Paladins that does that for the character that is a cross between Lucio and Genji.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Because I really like the idea of like tampering with voice lines, like how some of the mythic skins have been doing.
The
It's like the
Romantic skin
character's
also
voice.
tampers with voice lines. It gives them a different voice filter.
Right. I love that sort of thing. So the idea of taking a music-based hero like Lucio and giving him some sort of like synth bot type skin that's like maybe just inspired by Hatsune Miku, but isn't like literally that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that could actually be interesting just because of the like audio that would accompany it and the way they'd handle the voice lines.
It'd just be him with a synthesizer filter over it. Like he'd just be auto-tuned and everything.
Yeah, I think it'd be more interesting if they like literally vocaloided the voice lines instead of having a voice actor do them.
Johnny Cruz, get the fuck out of here. Hatsune Miku is replacing you.
they make a Vocaloid bot from his audio, from like voices he's done, and just replace him in the game.
Oh my god, what a fucking dystopian nightmare. It's all gone full circle.
We're gonna have
Holy
AI
shit.
voice lines in Overwatch.
Going back to Mario May skin, I'm just saying, you could have, like, bouncing off of that idea, you could have her say, like, it's a May, Mario.
Oh God.
It's Sunday.
Ugh.
Admit it, I have the best ideas.
That's terrible.
Okay,
She would-
okay. But
Her little gun would
who
turn into
outside
the
of
gun.
Genji would be
Oh.
Luigi?
Luigi.
Yeah. What if you made Luigi Overwatch?
You see, the thing is, Torbjorn is Wario, okay?
Lucio.
No
Lucio.
one's...
Actually, there's two contenders for Wario. Hog could be Wario too.
Yeah.
No, doesn't
Yes.
suit the vibe.
Yes, that's the
No.
vibe.
No, it doesn't.
Sombra
down below.
Waluigi.
Oh no, that fits too well.
Fits
Honestly,
the vibe,
another
the
one
color.
that fits well. Honestly, would maybe be Tracer.
Tracer for
or Lucio.
Lucio for Luigi? Yeah, maybe. Actually, there's a good argument for Mario, Tracer, Lucio, Luigi, Waluigi, Sombra, and like Torb or Hog Wario.
Torb Wario
Would
would
be
be funny, I'll admit.
Who'd be Peach?
Uh,
Because of course
Mercy.
it would be Mercy.
Yeah.
no. Well,
It'd be Mercy.
I'd like for Mercy to be Rosalina, but
Yeah,
she's not cool
That's
enough
what I
for
would
that.
think. I would like it to be Rosalina, but it won't be.
Oh, who's the most princess-esque Overwatch hero?
Diva.
Probably
Hmm.
Echo.
Diva.
Would it be Diva?
Diva.
Maybe Diva.
No, Echo might actually work because like Princess Peach more floats than flies.
Mhm.
Go.
Yeah. I think Mercy would be the one for Princess Peach.
If you had to make someone Princess Peach, it'd be Mercy. But Mercy, it's just Mercy.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that would be giving Mercy players another pink skin, so that's kind of a problem.
Oh God.
Ugh. Fucking hell.
Could you imagine?
Honestly,
Bringing that back.
I feel like as long as Mercy players have a skin that is pink, I feel like they'll be fine.
Gonna make it the worst skin possible.
As long as it's pink, I feel like Mercy players will be sated.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. What are some
I mean,
other
I wouldn't
cool
mind.
characters?
I wouldn't mind, but like the skin is nice, but it's a skin.
It's a skin. What the fuck are you yelling about?
It was a skin for charity. Can we calm down? No, the only ones I can really think of is like maybe Echo or Mercy. That's really it. Or if you want to go like really left or like very unexpected, maybe Farah.
Okay, no, I got it. Bowser Roadhog.
Yes!
Yeah,
Okay,
no, that makes
yeah,
more
that one
sense.
would work.
His vape could be like a canister of fire or something like that.
Like a fire-breathing canister.
Yeah.
Like a fire-breathing potion, basically. Oh, there's some other Mario fucking Goomba ball.
Oh no.
No, Bowser Jr. Wrecking Ball.
Yes!
Wait, that also works. Bowser
Like, they have
Jr.
the exact same energy as characters as well.
Yes, they do.
Mhm.
These
Oh, do you
fucking
know what else would work?
gremlins.
Do you know what else would work?
What else?
Genji as Link.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, Genji
That works.
or Brig is Link.
I remember
Greg.
the devs saying at some point that if they were to ever adapt a fictional character into Overwatch, it would be Link.
Huh.
Yeah, that sounds.
yeah.
Yeah, that's because there's the hero like artwork thing someone did a while back of like Link
Yeah.
as a hero
God.
in Overwatch.
Let me see. Overwatch. Da 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 da.
Was it fully
Intent-
animated? I know they made
No,
like highlight
I
intro.
found it. I'll share it.
Yay!
Here's someone made a
right.
basically just like a Link model for Overwatch with like cool animations. It's based off of Brig's model a little bit.
Nah, I can see that, yeah. Huh. Interesting. Well, how long have we been...
I love how we just completely detoured from talking about this game.
Well,
No, we're still talking about skins, Jazz, but you know it's different.
we're
I mean, like the crossover. We could do a whole episode just talking
Yeah,
about
we could.
crossovers. Maybe
Honestly,
we
it's
should at
just
some
so-
point.
Oh, it's just too much fun.
uh,
so many
Rob
cons-
fucking Bastion.
yes.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Rob Bastion.
Oh my god.
It's
Would
perfect.
Ganymede be a little like gyroscope thing?
Yes.
No, he'd be the
Gyro
top. You know, he'd be a top.
Yeah.
He'd be a flying top.
Okay, well we're 15 minutes from being 3 hours, so
Oh my god.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
All right, you can crop some of the unwanted parts out.
is that it? I think we're done. Matsu's going insane
Scenario
upstairs.
was Princess Peach.
We didn't talk about Antarctica, or did we?
No, we did.
We
just
you mentioned it.
we
were
mentioned
like,
it.
came out. Damn.
Right, the penguins kicked off the whole like meta meme
Yeah.
social media thing.
It's like the map
Oh,
is
that,
okay.
that was okay.
All right, so I think that's it. That it?
Pretty much.
Jazz?
I'm satisfied.
Ian?
Let's do a episode dedicated to crossover skins sometime soon because I
Alright.
think there's a lot to talk about there.
Sure.
There is a lot. We've done one before, I think.
Yes, we have.
We can do another one now that they're real.
Now that they're real. Oh,
So, anyways, Ness, you're up.
fuck. I don't know. Watch Vine Sauce. It's funny. Vine Sauce Joel.
Okay, whatever. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.